What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Good to see you all here tonight. Again, if you missed the announcement I had on Wednesday that Sean is still out dealing with family issues, I believe he'll be back next week, but I'm not quite sure on that. And again, I just ask everybody just prayers and well wishes to the Ahrendt family, and I'm sure he'll talk about it if he wants to talk about it when he gets back. But until then, I love you, brother. If you're watching, can't wait to get you back here. So, welcome everybody. This is a fun night, a night I've been anticipating now for a little bit, because it's been, I want to say, a year since we've had this guest on, and as a lot of you know, he's one of my favorite artists, and has been since I was a little kid. So, looking forward to talking to him. Real quick, let's say hi to the chat. We got Leandro. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Nicholas Gear. How's it going? We got Dojo Brian. How's it going, man? Good to see you guys piling in here. Black Rose, American Comics Co. We got Crazy Mad. Man, thank you for showing up, guys. This is fun. Hey, Eddie Winkler. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. And just so everyone knows, I'm streaming on two channels tonight. So I'm streaming on my channel and streaming on Ott and stuff. So if you guys are in either of those two chats, you might not see all the comments, but I'm gonna bring up as many as I can through the night as we go here. And please, if you have any questions for Brett, dump them into the chat and I'll bring them up when I get a chance. So
nothing with math.
Yeah, nothing with math. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just gonna skip the intros and everything like we usually do because like Brett told me earlier, he might not have the best connection on his phone. So I want to make sure we can get everything in just in case something happens. So yeah, so welcome to the show, Brett Booth. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. All right, welcome everybody. Thanks, everybody. Tired.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And anybody let me know out there. Again, since we're doing this because Brett doesn't have the ability to stream, if you've seen the two prior shows we've done it via phone call, and we've done it in a way that works, and we've got it up at the mic. So let me know if you guys can hear. I tested it out the other day with my wife calling in and making sure we could hear, and everything sounded good. So yeah. So anyway,
old school.
Yeah, old school.
Fancy and old school.
Right. Yeah. We get so used to like the streaming now, where you just pop people up and you just have these conversations, get back to actually like trying to rig the phone up, put it next to the mic. So
this stuff didn't used to happen because you used to pay so much money for a phone call.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. See, Nicholas right off the bat says, Brett doing indie cover commissions? And if so, what's the best way to contact him? Oh,
I'm not doing currently I'm not taking any commissions or any other cover work right now. I'm swamped. So until I can actually dig myself out of all of this stuff that I have to do, I'm closed up shop for a while. So at least for extra stuff.
Yeah, we're about to talk.
Maybe later next year, but not right now. My wife is yelling at me constantly. You're working too much. So they're trying to take a little bit of time off here and there. And it's just every time I get a little bit of time, hey, can you do this cover?
Well, I would agree with your wife. I mean, you are all over the place, and you've been producing a ton of work and have been now for quite a while. And I was going to say the last time Sean and I had you on, I think I remember we were talking about books that we'd love to see you on. And the Marvel stuff hadn't happened yet, and I'll get into that. But I remember specifically saying that I had seen a fan piece or at least a commission that you had done of Spawn, and I was like, man, it'd be awesome to see you on the Spawn book. I was like, has Todd ever reached out to you? And at that point, you had said that you'd never talked to Todd, and that just blew me away because I couldn't believe that. For one, but the fact that not too long after that, I don't know if you knew it at the time or what, or if it just happened, but lo and behold, boom, there your name is with being popped up with Spawn Universe, and then Gunslinger coming out. One, I want to say that's fucking awesome. I'm so excited to see you on that character. And two, how'd that go about, and how's it been so far?
Okay. Well, do you remember exactly when we talked the last time?
I can't remember.
Was it like a year?
It was probably like a year ago. Yeah, like I don't think the Marvel stuff had come out yet either.
Had it been announced? It was kind of a weird time. I was just starting to do the X-Men stuff, and I was chatting with talked to Andrew Dahlhaus, my colorist. And we were making, he was talking about, he's like, oh man, the Delso, my inker, so he's got like 40,000 people on Instagram. I'm like, man, I really need to get on Instagram again.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm on it, but I just like, I don't like the interface. I don't know how things work. And it just seems like it's like extra complicated just to kind of meander around on it. But I went on it that day. I came home and my wife was making the dog food. So I was like, oh, it's not done yet. I'll get an hour or so to kill. I was playing on my phone, and I was playing on Instagram, and I was like, just kind of scrolling through the feed, and I was like, oh, the thing from Todd came up. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I'll follow Todd. And I clicked on it, and then like a little icon showed up in the corner of my phone, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I clicked on that. Oh, it's a message from Todd, and it's like a month old.
Oh no!
Because I had it on there, and he was like, hey, if you want to do any covers for me or do any interior work, let me know. And I was like, I felt terrible. Because I was like, oh man, I didn't respond to him for like a month. So I sent him an email real quick. I was like, yeah, I'd love to do some covers. And then he was like, oh, well, if you want to do some interior work. And I emailed Marvel. I was like, hey, do you guys have anything else lined up for me after I finish these X-Men Legends book? And they're like, well, we weren't expecting you to be done so fast, so we don't have anything. And I was like, oh, okay. We have like another issue of X-Men Legends. It's like a single issue with Fabian again. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, well, I can take that. Not a big deal.
Right.
I can do that. If it's some work, I mean, I could do my commissions and I could do my creator on, get working on my creator and stuff again. But I'm talking to Todd, and he called me up, did the cover, and he called me up. He's like, hey, we just, chatted for like an hour. And in the time we were chatting, he's like, yeah, he's found an artist that he likes for Gunslinger. These are the projects he's going to work on. And if I want to work on any of them, just let him know. He'd be perfect. He'd be happy. He's going to do one issue, just one cover. You want to do 100 covers or 100 issues, whatever. I've heard him do the pitch in his interview. So
yeah.
The same pitch he gave to me. And we just chatted for a while. And I was like, yeah, well, I'll talk to you next week. So we're going to talk some more. And I had to do a picture for my Patreon. I was supposed to do a picture for my Patreon today. I was kind of a schedule that I like to try to keep. Kind of got screwed up recently, so I'm trying to get back on it this week. But I already screwed up because I forgot to email something today. So, oh well. So I was like, I need something to draw. I was like, well, let me draw the Gunslinger guy. He's a Spawn guy, people like Spawn. And I drew the picture real quick. And it only took me, in like an hour and a half. It took me like an hour, 2 hours to get like a pose that I liked. Because sometimes when you're working with a new character, you need to get kind of the feel for that character. I looked on the X-Men and the DC guys so much that I pretty much know how to do them. Spawn I'd only drawn a few times. I drew like a card for him way back in the day. I actually helped out on Spawn Batman. I drew like part of the page.
Really?
Yeah, apparently Todd was behind, so he sent over some pages to Jim, and Jim gave it me. Him and Ryan Benjamin spent like a day drawing.
No shit.
So Todd could ink it.
Now I got to look that over.
Yeah. I could probably take the picture if I saw it. So I sent the Gunslinger guy up. A sketch. It wasn't super complicated or anything, but I don't draw like sketchy. It's fairly tight, just because I kind of got into that habit. Sent it to Todd. Just a picture on my phone, and he's like, "Oh man, I love it." And he's like, "I'll talk to you next week." And like that was like a Thursday or a Friday, and then didn't think much of it. I didn't put it up yet because I didn't have. Was kind of busy. Yeah. Didn't put it up on my Patreon, and then when I talked to him on Tuesday, he like offered me the book.
Nice.
And he's like, "Oh, what's your page rates?" And he gave my page rate, and he gave me like $100 more.
I've heard that about Todd, that he'll pay over.
Yeah, so he'll kind of we'll bump up your cover right now. But I was more worried about he's like, well, what about your inker and colors? So who do you want to do that? And I said, well, I'd like to bring in Delso and Andrew. Yeah, sure. It was pretty, it's pretty fat. So
nice.
Like within like a week or so of that, he sent me over the first spot for the Swans Universe thing. The gunslinger for that, and then I drew that, and then like a week after that, I got the one for King Spawn, and then like a week or two after that, I got the first one for Gunslinger. And of course, like right after I agree to do all this, Marvel comes back to me like, "Hey, we've got 5 issues of arc we want you to do." I was like, crap.
Yeah, that's
I'd already taken this thing from Todd, so
right.
like, sorry.
Well, honestly, I think that's.
I would, I think, I love drawing the X-Men, so it's like not like something that I, it's like, oh man. For like a brief moment, I was like, ooh, could I do both?
Oh yeah, right.
And I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. I'm not gonna kill myself.
Yeah, it would be like nonstop work. And I was actually going to ask that question because I was a little disappointed that Marvel didn't have more things right off the bat lined up for you because and also I enjoyed the work.
I'm pretty sure I was like a fill-in. I think Lionel, I can never say his name right. You.
Oh, the main guy.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
basically he's a step back from doing interiors, and I think that they didn't realize that, so they had planned for him to do this, and then they needed somebody. Fabian had asked about me to do wanted me to do the Juggernaut project that he had done. He's one of the artists that he. Because sometimes they'll give them a list of people that they want to work on stuff.
Right.
And so that was one of them. But I was working on. They didn't ask me or anything, but maybe they saw that I was working on. What Ricky did ask me when I'd be free. Well, how long did it take me? So maybe that's what kind of some of that stuff was. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, well, Eddie Winkler in the chat here says he said LOL Brett as a fill-in quotation marks, and that's exactly that's what I'm saying. Like I thought they were getting you in on like and this was the thing when they announced that you were coming and doing some Marvel stuff, I was like, man, this is really cool because I feel like this is at least I hoped that maybe the Twitter noise from all the fans tagging Marvel and things and saying, hey, let's do something. Get Brett.
Would be cool. I didn't ask because I didn't want to ask a lot of questions because I didn't want to bring much attention. Just basically was like, oh yeah, sure. I was trolling them pretty hard. And
well, I was hoping that they would have thrown you after the Legend stuff and giving you a little bit of a run on one of the legacy characters there. Because you would have killed it.
I would have loved to have done, and I still think, it's not like the end. There's still time. I still would love to do some more X-Men stuff, and maybe something with Spider-Man or Captain America or something like that. It's kind of funny that Captain America is kind of a weird character. Like I never really used to. I read the when he quit or they fired him or whatever it was. When the beautiful cover with these the mic set cover.
Oh yeah.
It's like kind of a down shot of him, and the flags behind him, and it's kind of like it's either ripped or it's kind of like bleeding into the ground. And I believe, oh God, Ron Lim. I think I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember names. I believe Ron Lim drew the characters for some of that. They don't fight Daredevil. I remember I read it during that thing where he kind of left and it wasn't like Captain America. The U.S. agent stuff kind of came in. So like the Winter Soldier Falcon thing that came out recently, I kind of I remember some of this. Something's still coming back to me. I know it's I have an idea about what's going on with this story because I'm not a huge Avengers fan.
Yeah.
So when they do like Avenger stuff, I've never read any of that. So I think it's all new to me. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Most of my Black Widow knowledge comes from Daredevil. I don't know anything about the stuff in the Avengers. I only know about her being friends with Daredevil. So. I'm
right there with you, man. To be honest, a lot of those characters were never my favorite. I was Spider-Man, X-Men.
I had Guardians of the Galaxy, no clue about it. So I'm like all new stuff for me. Even though I did a couple years ago. Some stuff up on the characters, but it's completely fallen out of my head, so I really have no idea about the story arc,
right?
What's going to happen or whatever. So I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that's surprising.
Well, let's go, man. I mean, you're doing a ton of stuff, and we're gonna get into some of the independent and the artist elite stuff. I just want to jump back into the chat because I've been inundated with some questions. I want to catch up to those before we get too far away. So let me scroll back here. Let me see if I can find the first one that I saw. Okay, so we asked that one. Let's go down to the next one. All right, so Eddie Winkler here, who had quite a few questions. He said, Brett, with everything going on in the comics world, what finally made you take the leap into crowdfunding, and why go with elite and not solo?
What was that last part?
Why go with elite? Like, why start the group, or instead of just doing it yourself?
Oh, the artist elite thing.
Yeah, the artist elite. Sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to.
Yep.
Just to clarify, the crowdfunding thing was something I see some Scott originally didn't want to do it. He's like, no, we won't do crowdfunding. Originally, the anybody was supposed to be 2 fees of 25 pages. So we get a trade out of it, and we started doing that actually in 2000 because DC was like kind of everything's like on hold. Well, they're kind of just doing some things, but everything else, like all the projects, were on hold. So I didn't have any like regular work. I was kind of sitting around waiting to hear something from DC. Because I was supposed to do a Wally West book right before they fired Danny Dio. That had been greenlit, and then they fired, and that kind of like threw everything into chaos. And then COVID hit, and then everything was just like, oh well, we don't help.
Right.
So that like, just wait. And I was like, well, I was doing enough on commission, so it wasn't like you were hurting or anything. And Scott sold one of his. He sold a Ball and Chain to Netflix, and he got a bonus. You get a check up front, and when it gets completed, you get some more money.
Yeah, there you go.
So I was like, oh, well, let's do a book. And so we started working on that, and then Marvel called when I was like 20 pages into it. And I was like, oh, I got and he's like, fine, I got this for something else. And I was like, okay, well, when I finish these 4 issues, I'll come back and finish the book. And so I finished the 4 issues, and I go back to finish the book because I tell Todd, and I tell Todd I think it's going to be finish this book up, and it's going to be 2 weeks before I can draw anything. I was like, that's fine. Let me know if you get done sooner. I was like, okay, well, let's see how fast I can go. Do a good job. And so I'm talking to Scott, and Scott's like, well, I'm thinking maybe we can just turn it into like a 30-page story. And he's like, let me get back to you. And then we do like.
Brett, I think we were.
Go ahead.
I think we're losing you just a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I don't know if you were moving around or not, but
it's possible.
Just
talk sometimes.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up real quick before we got too far into and couldn't hear the rest of your.
But okay, well, let me try to sum up a little faster.
Yep, you're good right there. Yep.
Okay, basically, Scott decided to do like more of a 0 issue with that. We finished it off, and then he said, "I'm going to kickstart it." And he decided he's going to kickstart it then.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh well, we'll put it out in like June or July." And then, I didn't hear anything, so I just kept working, doing stuff. And I was planning, I was going to do that, and then I was going to go do the Boss Serpent Prince or Parsec book right after that. That was my original plan. And then the Gunslinger thing, I wanted a nice long run on it. So I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to have time to kind of do all of this stuff next year.
Right, yeah, that's a lot.
And I was just kind of trying to figure things out. And then like a month ago is when Tyler contacted me about the artist elite thing. And it's an idea that I've had contacts like that. And he does, people who special cover, all that kind of got together. Garza and I were supposed to do starter book, an anthology similar to what we're doing now last year, and there was supposed to come out in June or July. So I was planning to have a bunch of stuff hit in the summer, and then like nothing happened. And I kept, because I was done, Ali was done, but I guess the other guys didn't get anything, just didn't have time while they were busy working on the other projects. So it's kind
right.
of fizzled out, which happens a lot in comics and stuff. But I was like, oh.
Nope, lost you again.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yes, I don't know if it's a signal or it's my gear. What the heck's going?
Well,
clearly.
Yeah, like I told the chat, it may go in and out. We'll figure it out. It's this is what you have to do to get Brett Booth on the show, because he's out there in off the grid, no man's land. So he can't stream. He's got to get on the phone, and we do what we can. So we're definitely very grateful.
Crappy cell signal.
Let's see who somebody had asked, and this would probably be a shorter question, how long it usually takes to pencil a page for you. I know you're a pretty quick artist, but
it really depends. I'm like super motivated, and there's not like a ton of stuff on there, like maybe 3 or 4 hours. But
jeez.
If it's the accident pages took about 10 or 11 because there's so many characters on them. It was just like, oh man. It took an entire day of work. I just finished. I get up, breaks, and feed the dog. But those were hard. That was a much. The team book is way more than a single character book.
Yeah.
But the creator on stuff goes really fast because it's like, I'm basically just drawing the stuff that I really want
to. Nicholas Geard asks, what's the release date for Basilisk, or is that also known now as the Last Serpent Prince?
That's the Lost.
Or Lost Serpent Prince. Lost Serpent Prince, yeah.
I can't copyright Basilisk. I can't copyright Thor.
Oh.
So that's why Marvel you can have this Basilisk is a mythical creature.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, I can't copyright anything. So, but the Lost Serpent Prince, and if you think about the Basilisk legend, it's called the King. So kind of
okay.
Together.
Do you have a idea? Is that going to be the first book you crowdfund, or are you aiming for Parsec? No, I think we lost you again.
All right, that will be with you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that'll be with Artist Elite.
Okay.
So we're not crowdfunding. I think we're taking just pre-orders, and we're going to put it out to send it directly to stores, similar to Bad Idea.
Yeah.
Similar to that kind of thing. I think because they're going to want to do like special covers. The whole point is kind of more like a boutique kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So it's similar. It's kind of a cross between the crowdfunding. I know some people have done they crowdfunded their books for a little bit, and then they just decided to put them out, take orders, and put them out that way. So they don't have to deal with losing the money from Kickstarter or paying that percentage, and then they can do it all themselves.
Well, since yeah. Sorry, I was listening to you and then trying to catch up to the chat too, trying to find where the questions were, but that was going to bring me to since it was brought up, how did that all come about? Because I know following your Twitter page, I know you've talked a little bit about how do I put that, artists, a little bit more focus on the artists and those characters instead of all the power by the writers. I know that we've talked about it on this show before with you when it comes to that subject.
Here's how this stuff works. And I actually talked to a company, and they're like, "Oh, I'm interested in." They wanted to see my projects, and then turn them in. They're like, "Oh, well, have you thought about teaming up with a writer?" And it's basically if a writer comes on the project, they're for the story. That's just how they are.
Right.
For that, if they want you to draw, and of course, although everybody talks to them, and anybody's just fine. I love work.
Yeah, we're losing you again, man. Eddie said to tell Brett to put foil on the antenna.
Hold on, let me anytime we went to.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe that'll be better. The phone service, the signal works so great like the hour before.
Right. Yeah. It always works like that. It always works like that.
No, I mean basically it's just I was doing. I used to write Backlash, co-write and write Backlash. So I've written comics before. It's not like a new thing for me. It's just kind of getting back up on the horse and remembering how to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Because having a writing partner is much easier. And I went from have a writing partner to like writing stuff myself, and then not really writing anything for like 15 years. So.
Well, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of big names that I recognize. Beside yourself in there, like Ebass, it was cool to see that. I'm interested in seeing what that's going to be. Freddie Williams, Jr. Is it?
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of his. I really loved his Batman Turtles crossover stuff, and the things he's done in the past. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what you guys bring to the independent comic book world. You got a lot of like Eddie. Eddie Winkler said, Brett, next time you're looking, call me. I'll remortgage the house for the opportunity to work with you. Leandro said, can you ask him about his opinion regarding the direction of the X-Men compared to how the founders created them? Unsatisfying, or does he not care? And I think that's, probably, at least I would assume, that the last big run of X-Men was kind of, I didn't like it personally. I didn't like the direction it went. But I haven't really read an X-Men comic in a while.
I don't read it anymore. When the Chris Claremont left, I kind of stopped reading it. So what I was able to piece together, I'm like not super thrilled with it. It's not like anything that would get me. It seems like it's more like let's say character focus. Character focus. It's not like the character focusing on characters isn't a bad thing. It just seems kind of like drama for drama's sake.
Right.
And I was like the whole island. I was like, I have an idea to fix it. So I was like, when I started reading about it, I was like, ooh, I'm not a super fan of this. How would I fix it? And I was like, oh, well, that's an easy thing. And I'm not gonna say because maybe I can do it at some point.
Well, that would be cool, and that I feel like that's kind of what some of these books need is someone with the talent, with the love for the characters, or at least the love of the storytelling, to come in and say, hey, what's going on right now isn't working, but you could fix this easily, and you could bring some top-notch art to the book, which is one of the things. And I don't try to denigrate any art out there, but I like a specific art when it comes to superhero comics. I think they should look a certain way, be drawn a certain way when it comes to dynamics and energy and all that. And I think that a lot of times the art that gets on these legacy books, as I would call them for Marvel, to me isn't appealing. So that was one of the big things when you were getting hired on Marvel to do X-Men. I was all about it. I was a little disappointed that it was on a Legends and not like on the main title or something like that. But still, I took it because it was the opportunity to see some of my favorite characters drawn in the correct way, as I feel they should be drawn.
Well, I mean, as when you grow up with the characters, you kind of they're supposed to look a certain way in your head. So it's when you see kind of how, and it really depends, because I think that Pepe Larraz, he does some fantastic work on the X-Men stuff. But it seems to be kind of like what they were doing with Stegman, where they like put him on a book for a little bit and then they pull him off,
right,
and then put him on something else. And so it's like, well, let him do a run. I think that's what people want to see. They want the run. They want to see, to come into the book for a year or two, and they can. They're expecting the story and the art and get it. They're just kind of looking for these number one issues all the time, that initial like burst of money. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like a bit of a long game in some of this. So you want to do what are these creators? All these popular artists, the big ones, what are they known for? They're known for these certain runs on these books. And so now, and this might be Marvel's plan, so that the artists don't get popular, they don't have another image kind of rebellion.
Yeah, exactly.
They just they pull them after they're getting hot on a book. They pull. I mean, it's like Stegman got really hot on Spider-Man, bam, pull him, put him on something else. And so he's like, I don't even know what the hell he was doing at the end. Was he still on Venom? I mean, he was doing that King of that Venom guy, the symbiote guy. I did a promo piece for it.
Yeah, it's because I don't follow a lot of Marvel stuff right now either. It's I don't want to say Kroll is not the right word, but it's what's his name? I don't know. Chat, if you can think of
no.
No.
I'm so pissed off because I actually was going to do something with the null force in the Flash, so no, I can't do that.
Yeah. And
to me, like a null force would be like they kept calling it like the negative speed force. I was like, that's just way too difficult to say. What if you just call it the null force? Because the opposite of
there you go.
Speed is kinetic energy. The opposite of that is none.
Yeah.
And what is zero? And what is that? Oh, it's called null. And I was like, oh, well, then you called it null force. And then they're like, oh, now we're doing the strength force, and we're doing this force, we're doing that force. I was like, oh, geez, you ruined all the forces again. Now we can't do forces for 10 years or 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's pretty much. I brought that up before. Like, you don't see an artist do a long run anymore, and it's really aggravating for me. And I've stopped. I used to have a pull list, and I just recently, in the last couple months, stopped doing the pull list because every time I would follow an artist and be like, "Hey, they're in this book now. Put it on my pull list," they would be off of it so fast. And then all of a sudden I'd be stuck with a book in my poll that I would just feel obligated to pay for because I had him set it aside, and the artist is gone. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So I'm like, all right, I need you to cancel this because he's no longer there. And it's aggravating.
They don't seem to want to keep the artist on the books. That's the weird thing too. They're like, it's almost like they're purposely trying to force you off so that they can hire somebody cheaper.
Oh yeah, well there you go.
But it doesn't look like they've done that. They're just no, stay. But they're not really interested in having you. Well, then can we do this? No.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they're trying to save a buck, and I know page rates aren't what they used to be. Like you were talking about, Todd giving you $100 more than you asked for. Like that's awesome. But the mainstream, I think you guys are getting robbed, especially with a guy of your talent and reputation. You've been drawing for freaking forever. You're a fantastic artist. Like some of the page, even the stuff you put out on Twitter that DC was giving you, I was just like, what? Like it blew me away. I couldn't believe it. Like that's ridiculous.
Well, I kind of look at it as, even if I'm doing stuff for like another company or whatever it is, I can try to do my best and learn stuff or get better.
Yeah.
So it helps me out in the long run. So
yeah,
even like when I did that Flash stuff, the Flash and the Bloodshot book, it made me physically kind of ill for a bit. I was exhausted.
I bet
doing it, but it enabled me to get even faster. So drawing a regular monthly book isn't really hard for me now. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just doing the monthly book and then trying to fit in the creator-owned stuff and stuff with the Patreon and commissions. That's when it kind of gets a bit of a crunch.
Well, right.
So.
Well, you are one of the faster artists I've seen out there as far as production-wise. You don't see a lot of artists, if any, right now that take on 2 books at once. So that in itself was pretty impressive.
Not recommended.
Yeah, I bet. In the chat, Dojo Kun Comics said, "We've been told that the big 2 won't leave an artist on the book anymore because they don't want the artist to get bigger than the characters anymore." And that's kind of, you mentioned that a little bit. And
yeah, I mean, it's maybe, I think I can see where you can think that, and I honestly don't have the answer. Is that what they're doing? I mean, it's possible. They are not, and they did. I mean, DC did offer me some more work with earlier this year. They asked me what the schedule was, if I'd have time to do an 8-issue story. But they're not giving out regular work anymore. It seems like you're only getting like a miniseries here or an arc here. So
yeah, it's disappointing.
It's possible that that's one of the reasons.
Trevor McGuire said saving a buck is one thing, but when it leads to less sales, is it really worth it for the short term? Do the math, and that's my biggest argument is you're going to have my money if you keep the artist I want on the book. You take the artist off, I'm leaving, I'm going wherever he's going to pop up or wherever my other favorite artist is going to pop up. So back in the day, you could have, you know, a big name artist. It doesn't even have to be a big name artist, but just a really well drawn book, be on the book for 12 issues, 24 issues. It's a nice long run. You're going to get every bit of my money for that. And now it's just like you force me to buy a book here or there. Yeah, it's like I said before, it's aggravating. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends because it's kind of funny because they always kind of stuff that kind of gets promoted at least online or at websites. It's like, I only follow the writer. I don't care about the artist.
Yeah.
and I think as a former comic book, reader, and it was like, man, I would drop a book or not. I would pick up, Kevin McGuire would draw Justice League. Huge. I loved how his art and facial expressions worked with their dialogue and the writing.
Right.
And then they'd have a fill-in artist. And I'd be like, oh, this is not good. And it's not like they're bad artists. It just doesn't work with what I'm used to seeing, what I'm expecting, what I want out of this book.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I almost dropped the Justice League book because, he left. He left, and luckily Adam Hughes came on, so I kept reading to that. Hughes came on. But, you associate certain books. I mean, one thing about the X-Men is they generally had like a really high level of art. So, like, when Mark left Most Illustrated, they bring in some.
We lost him. To wait for him to call back. I'm gonna get to guys. You're putting a lot of questions in the chat, and it's awesome. I'm trying to get to as many as I can. We'll wait for Brett to call back here. There was a possibility he was going to drop off. Bad signal, but yeah, Dojo. I'm gonna ask that question when I get a chance. I see a bunch of other questions I'm gonna try to get to as well, guys. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. This is awesome. Oh, there it goes. And you're back.
And I'm back. Isn't this fun?
It's all good. I knew there was a possibility it would happen. It's live shows, people.
I think I got a message or something on my phone, and it's doing this weird thing that it won't let me use the internet and use the phone at the same time.
Oh yeah. I've seen some other people go through a similar kind of issue. While you were back, while you were gone, I was just talking to Chad a little bit. There was a question in here that popped up from Dojo Kun Comics, kind of wrapping up the subject matter we were talking about. And he says that Andy Smith and Aaron Lopresti both confirmed the strategy of rotating the artists so the runs are short. And it's just something I don't understand. I come from old school. I come from wanting to see an artist or a creative team on a book for a while. And that's probably half the reason why I'm not a huge collector of comics anymore.
Well, I mean, it is kind of weird. Whenever I left Titans, and then I did a few issues of Action, and then after that they were like they didn't have anything planned. So then they got the Flash Buggy thing, and then the Joker thing. That kind of there's a little bit of a gap in between, but they didn't have anything like long term. So yeah, I mean, I can't confirm it, but it does seem to be the way that they're going. But I mean, you have a guy like what's his name on Batman, who's been on it for
Capullo
a while. No.
Yeah. He has been on it for a while. That's true. That's a good point. Every once in a while, they stick with somebody. That's true. I'll give you. Yeah.
So unless someone's bringing in good sales, maybe. I mean, it is hard to say exactly what the editorial is doing because I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say yes. That's exactly what's going on, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Antoine Dennison said, I can count the writers on one hand that I'd follow over an artist. Yeah, and mine's way less than that because everyone knows I'm about art first and give me the story second, but let me look at the beautiful art first.
Well, I mean, it's going to go very person to person. I mean, as an artist, I was looking at the art in the comics. So
yeah.
So as long as it was, something that I like, and Kevin McGuire's style is much different than like Jim or Mark Silvestri's or Art Adams, which is the one that I gravitated towards initially. Was like Mark Silvestri,
right.
Walt Simonson, Art Adams, but then it goes Perez, and looking back at John Byrne, and now it's like, I can kind of see, the different art styles that I like, that even into manga.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can definitely see the manga influence you brought into your work over the last little bit, however long it might be, just here or there, subtle. I can see it, but it's added a lot to your style. It really has, and I've really enjoyed seeing you evolve, even over the. I mean, honestly, if for the big fans out there, Brett Booth guys, if you've been following his work on Twitter or wherever you can see it, and you see Patreon, and you see him constantly post these fan drawn sketches or commissions. The amount of growth, and you were already a fantastic artist, but the amount of growth from then to now is incredible. It's a perfect example of an artist always learning and adding stuff, to continue getting better and better. And it's just the stuff you're producing now is amazing.
We always talked about, Jim has actually talked about this and everything when we first got a Wildstorm, where you get better, and you hit a plateau.
Right.
And you can kind of just stay at that plateau for years and years and years, and then eventually it starts going downhill. And some artists are plateaued for a long time, which is great, so they can give you a really 20 or 30 years worth of quality stuff. And then as they get older, as your eyesight's going, and you can't draw as well. Sadly, it's one of the things that happens.
Right.
I'm not looking forward to that downhill turn. But I think I plateaued a while ago, and I struggled for a bit, and then I was able to kind of get back into the upward curve. And I decided that I don't want to ever plateau if I don't have to. So I'm just going to kind of keep working at it, keep looking at things that inspire me, and then try to pull that into the artwork so I can try to make it better all the time.
Yeah, I mean that's the attitude you should have, and it's a good attitude to aspire to for young artists or for any artist, honestly. And watching,
I remember talking to the editor. He's like, well, if you want some constructive criticism, he's like, you're not really good at facial expressions. I was like, oh well. At the time, I was like, well, I didn't have the script, so I can't. I just getting kind of vague things on plots. So I wasn't sure what to do.
Good point.
So you leave it a little blank, but I'll see about it, and it's just something that I kind of focused on. And he's like, you don't have to make any changes. He's like, you can basically, go through and have a perfectly good career with where you're at now. And I was like, huh. And it kind of got me thinking, because I was trying to, to just kind of do get better and do better things, and so I don't know. It just kind of made me push a little bit to try to, it's not like I'm trying to as the writers like to say, I'm trying to do their Dark Knight or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
Trying to make their mark on their run. They're trying to tag a specific arc so that they're known for this specific arc. I don't want to just be known for a specific thing.
Yeah.
So drawing a bunch of different projects and trying to do a good job on each one of them. So it's like you're known for multiple projects. I actually talked to Todd about this. And he's like, oh, I only drew 25 issues of Spawn, Spider-Man, something like that. I didn't draw a lot of it.
That's a good point, yeah.
He's like, but I drew a run, and you have to draw a run to get people to remember. So it's like, huh. So they try to do some runs. It's like, that's the best advice for the younger kids. But then if Marvel and DC are not allowing the artists to do runs anymore, it's going to be really hard to kind of get a name. It's going to make it even harder. So
yeah, and that was my big complaint about what we've seen now for years, since pretty much Image happened. Rick Saylor said, what is your favorite book that you have worked on?
Oh, man. I don't like to pick favorites because I have those bits and pieces that I really like working on. Well, trying the X-Men recently during the one issue where they're like, oh, just draw them in whatever costume you want. Except for Storm can't be them. You can't get rid of the Mohawk. That's what I wanted to do.
Damn it. Yeah, that would have been cool. That would have been cool.
You can't give Storm a Mohawk. So I was like, okay, so I picked the X-Factor costumes for Scott and Jean. And then I was like, looking at Storm, she has like a modern costume that has a similar kind of feel to it. So I picked that one just because it has kind of a big X on it. So they kind of match it. But that was really like a lot of fun drawing those characters. I love drawing Jean. And then working with Fabian on X-Men Legends was really cool because I got to draw Cyclops in that, even though that's not my favorite Cyclops costume, it was still really cool to draw him in that costume.
Yeah, because you like that old X-Factor costume, right?
Yeah, I'm an old X-Factor guy. Yeah. The original ones with the blue and yellow is my favorite.
Yep.
It doesn't have the stripes, but I wasn't sure what they were going to let me get away with when I was doing some of the things. But Fabian was working with me. And the whole Adam X thing, I had no idea who the hell that guy was.
Yeah, me either, honestly. Like, I had to look him up, and I was like, I kind of remember him, but yeah.
All right, well, whatever.
Yeah. It was cool, though. I mean, it was good to see on those characters.
Cyclops and Havoc, so that'll be fun. And then the Gunslinger is a lot of fun because Todd kind of lets me.
Yeah.
We got some new characters in there. The dinosaurs. It's kind of funny because he's asking, "What do you like to draw?" I think, "Oh, dinosaurs." So he's purposely throwing more dinosaurs in there than
There was actually a question not too long ago in the chat that said, "How many dinosaurs did Todd let Brett draw?" So because everybody knows you're affiliate.
Issue 3, there's dinosaurs. There's dinosaurs in issue 4, and we're just talking about doing something in issue 5 with dinosaurs as well. So there's there's dinosaurs in all of it. And this is Todd. This is not me.
Right. That's awesome.
This is not me. Todd wants to put the dinosaurs in there. So I was like, okay, I'll be happy to draw the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I would say no complaint there. Crazy Mad said, "Is there any character that you haven't done that you're trying to get your hands on?" Excuse me.
I would like to do, Blue Beetle, Ted Cord. He's like one of my favorites. Like one of my favorite DC characters. They won't. He's not gonna, unless they do some sort of weird Elseworlds thing. I don't think he'll ever come back. I'd like to do Wonder Woman.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I love mythology. She's ripe with mythology. That's her whole story.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to do something with. Shazam. I'd look, a Batman run, cool Batman run, where she does some stuff.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of action. That's kind of how I remember Batman. There's a lot of action in it.
Yeah, of course.
Seeing that in the current stuff is more talking.
Yeah, a little bit more story.
And Marvel, I'm kind of debating on whether I want to do Daredevil still.
Yeah.
I'm worried that he got really religious from what I'm kind of reading. It's kind of what you like. He was pretty religious before.
I was saying because it was always in his backstory or his character building.
And I'm just wondering if now, if it would be too much for me to not basically want to push back against, and I don't want to mess up the character.
Yeah.
So, Spider-Man, that would be. Even though I don't like Peter Parker.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that before. Yep.
But I like Spider-Man a lot.
Right. Yeah.
Captain Marvel, the original one.
Oh, nice.
Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Yeah.
But I was thinking the other day, I think something with Galactus and Silver Surfer would be kind of cool.
You'd knock something like that out of the park.
Like a cool stuff. I mean, I like drawing Galactus and the Celestials. They're a lot of fun. They can take a lot of time, but they're a lot of fun. Cyberforce.
Hey, I would be 1,000 times down for
Wildcats,
that. That'd be
Cyberforce.
Yeah,
I did an issue of Wildcats.
True.
I don't really
True.
that because it was like my first issue ever.
Yeah, issue 0, right?
Yeah, and I just did the layout, so it's like I don't consider that my issue.
Mm-hmm.
So like doing like the Wildcats, or even I'd love to do something with that. Maybe do an issue with Spawn, make a regular Spawn, because I drew him like part of a panel, and probably then he's in a panel in issue 1 of Gunslinger,
Right.
And then like a couple covers. I think that's my Spawn.
Yeah.
That's all I draw on Spawn.
I was going to say that was, as much as I like the Gunslinger Spawn thing, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't the regular Spawn book. Well, who knows? Maybe that'll definitely come.
I mean, if I ask, I'm sure Todd will say, "Yeah, sure, you got it."
Right? Yeah, and see, that's
maybe after
that's
I get
awesome.
my Gunslinger run, I'll do a couple issues of Spawn.
Yeah, that would be the shit. Elliot had asked. Elliot Rodriguez said, "Is Brett going to take a big leap into doing his own creator-owned work? I feel like he's been going back and forth with whether or not to make the leap." You and I had talked a little bit about that before we even went live. And did you want to comment on all about either, really diving into the independent stuff, or still obviously having to pay bills?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't expecting the Gunslinger thing. That wasn't something that I was, had planned for. I was basically going to do the X-Men stuff, and then I was going to jump in and do crowdfunding and create our own stuff. That was my plan. This year was supposed to be create our own stuff, and then Todd just was like, "Oh, here's throwing money at me to go draw Gunslinger." And I was like, "Oh man, I decided that like last year that we wanted." Because we're very rural, as you have to use this stupid phone. And so we decided we were trying to want to move closer to town. So like, okay, we'll have to save up some money for that. And I was planning on, looking for a new area to live within the next 5 years. And then talking to my wife about 3 days later, we get an email from like the ranch that we bought this property from. They have other properties in the area. And the other property has got power on it. And it's got a paved road right next to it, and this is like, I got the 25 to 45 minutes, depending on which way I take, of dirt roads before I hit the first paved road. There's a lot of wear and tear on vehicles, and it's a little further. It's further out, so I was like, okay, well, when Todd offered and I bought the property because it wasn't a ton of money because it's still pretty rural, and so now we're like planning on building on it. Put some buildings and stuff on it, make the whole big plan. So I wanted to make sure I had money for that.
Right.
So that was like this year. So, but the Artist Elite thing is basically like an anthology kind of series. So they'll be running stories in this anthology, and then my goal is get my 4 stories out. It'll be like a continuing story.
Okay.
I'm actually drawing part of it right now. I have the whole 1 story drawn, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that and break it up and put it in the anthology. So my goal is I'll do have this other short story that I was working on. I'll just kind of expand that out and do the first 2 parts, and then I'll just do this other story that I had in my head for the next 2 parts. So that'll be 36 pages, and then we can do. If this does well, possibly spin off the other thing into a special or a couple issues, or do it as a miniseries, like a 3-issue miniseries, and then do a regular series after that. Because what I would like to do is do the creator and stuff full time. That is my goal. And then occasionally go back and do stuff for Marvel or DC or Todd or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Yeah, the I make no bones about it. We've talked about when you've been on the show, the lack of faith I have in the mainstream industry. I see a lot more excitement in creator-owned / independent books out there. It would be great to, and the stuff I've seen you put out, like character designs and everything's right down my alley. And I think there's a lot of people, a lot of fans of yours that would love to see you jump in and tackle those characters. So I think that's definitely awesome to hear. Before I go any further, I had a question from Heroinberg here. Said, ask Brett if he's going to carry the Anybody's crowdfund total over to Indiegogo for an in-demand store. he probably get a whole bunch more sales. Now I know we were talking that that's not really your campaign,
I
but
talked to Scott about that, and he's kind of waffling back and forth whether he wants to do that or not.
really, yeah, oh.
Yeah, he's definitely interested. I don't know if that's going to be something he decides to do, because Scott ran the whole Kickstarter thing. It's kind of his deal.
Yeah.
Because I would have run it, I talked to him initially about, that you can run a Kickstarter and then you can run it in Indiegogo.
Yeah,
and then you can put it in demand. So you have, have it going for a while, even longer than that. So he's definitely considering that. Because but none of us had done any of this stuff before, so it was kind of like trying to figure out just how to do it. It's some people are like really good at picking things up, and we're older guys, so we're not we don't know the technology. What to do it today? Some people pick it up really fast. Some people are really good at selling things. And I told them, I was like, well, if you do it in Indiegogo or whatever it is, you need to do some podcasts and you need to do stuff like that. But I can do what I can do, but I can't do what you know. I can't go do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
I just can't do it. So
that's that's what we were when we were kind of talking before the stream. Like here at Comicsgate, doing the podcasts or doing the streams is really beneficial to get intimate with the buyers.
Like a whole system, which is I just thought was really interesting. They have a whole system for how you have to do all this stuff.
Yeah,
I can't do half of it because I don't have the internet connection.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the biggest thing right there is not the ability to stream.
Yeah. It's an interesting way that they have everything worked out, and I find that you can learn from anywhere. And so I was like, okay, see how this goes, but I can't do and even I think, man, I don't know if I have the time or the energy to do those giant those long streams that they do. Like they get to do a launch stream for to announce their project or when it's launching. And they do it for 4 hours. I was like, dude, 7 hours. I was like, come on.
Yeah, it's
I have to pee or something. I'm old.
Yeah, you can always. The good thing about streaming, you can always take a quick break. That's a good thing. But when we launch campaigns and stuff, there's always big old long launch parties, and they're always pretty lucrative for the books. But a lot of times when it comes to, and this is a strategy I think that crowdfunding in general should really take into consideration, because any stream, even if it's any channel, even if it's a small channel, you don't have to do the long streams. I mean, heck, you could have a 20-minute stream. It's the connection with the fans, and I think that's the intimate thing about specifically with Comicsgate, but also just with anybody that does this, is you get to know the fans. The fans get to know you. It's a more of a really cool connection you get to have with the creators and the backers. And it really, I've said this before, like when I back a book from a creator that I spend time following, it's like I find joy in helping get that book made. It's not so much just that I'm a backer. I feel like I'm almost like in this friend kind of zone, if that's what you want to call it, and it's exciting to see the book do well. It's like I feel like I have part in that.
No, I mean, I literally just did back this Beast of the Mesozoic Tyrannosaurus line. I retweeted that stuff. I fucking bought $1,000 worth of fucking dinosaur toys.
Oh, nice.
It's $1,200. It's $1,200 total. So I was like, yeah, no, I do get it. But he had done one before that I wasn't interested in. It's the ceratopsians, and I didn't like the paint jobs on them. The dinosaurs look great, but I'm just not that into ceratopsians.
Yeah.
The first one he did was raptors. I was like, raptors are okay. But the Tyrannosaurus, and I'm not a big Tyrannosaurus Rex fan, but I like some of the other ones.
It's my favorite.
Some of the last stretch goals. I was like, dude, you're killing me.
Yeah.
But I ordered all of them up to that point. I mean, there was 2 that I didn't get. Besides, they had 2.
Let's see.
30.
Oh shoot! I thought you had paused. I guess we lost you for a second. But yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah, the crowdfund things. They're fun. Like the old school way of going and getting a book at the store was always what it was. There's an inherent energy sometimes, or all the times when a book drops. It's almost like going to, this big event, like this big sporting event. Like everybody's on the same page, everybody's cheering for stuff. It's really really cool. I've enjoyed the atmosphere. Let's see. Murph Murph Ballad the Celestial said, well, and we kind of just talked this. Brett doesn't have the ability right now with where he lives, but he says Brett doesn't need Brett doesn't need his own channel. He just needs to go on all the CG YouTubes, and he would clean up. It's a promotion, just
Yeah.
good. I mean, it's the whole thing with the crowdfunding thing. It's just the promotion, and that's what makes it different than just putting a book in the store. And we've talked, and you and I have talked about how expensive it is to make a comic. It's and for anybody out there that doesn't know, 10,000 plus $20,000 to make a comic if you got a lot of talent on the book, and it's not just one person doing it. So it's an expensive thing to put out a book. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I mean, what to do an issue for me, and it's actually gone up. The inker I'm using on the Lost Serpent Prince actually is it's an older guy, so they require more money.
Yeah,
and it's like 16,000.
Yeah.
That's without like the pre-press stuff and all the other stuff, without printing. That's how much this pay people like a decent living wage, and get a quality book. I mean, if you're paying $100 for pencils and inks, that's you're not going to get a lot of quality unless you manage to get somebody when they're coming up.
Right.
And they're going to be good. And if you can get one of those guys, they're not going to stick around for very long because they're going to get scooped up by Marvel and DC then, because that's what their goal is. Well, I'm getting paid $100 a page. Well, Marvel's offering me $200 a page. DC's offering me $250. Where I'm going to go? I'm not going to stay in independent stuff because this just doesn't pay enough.
Yeah. That's it's just, I guess it's just all the way that they go. I know some guys can make really good money, good money doing this. I mean, shit. I mean,
some of the crowdfunding guys, they've made like a ton of cash.
Yeah, I mean, you even look at Ethan Van Sciver, what he's doing on Cyberfrog. But we all don't make the 6-figure plus money, and it's basically how do you live and do what you do. I understand where you're coming from when you've worked in the industry your entire life. You came up when you were really young. You made a name for yourself, and that's that's kind of what you've known. And the crowdfunding thing is kind of new for you. I think a lot of us are excited because we see that. I like to see the crowdfunding books rather than seeing a book go to, let's say Image or something. And I know you and I have talked about really the deal when it comes to putting a book out at Image. And it's like you have more of a control with the crowdfunding in general.
I mean, you have that's like I talked to a company. They're kind of interested, but they wanted me to. They said came up with a writer. That's what they always tell you as an artist. And it's like, it's not like I'm not looking to write Shakespeare here.
Right, exactly.
To do some cool stories. So they don't want, I'm not looking for, like super fancy, what they consider, comic books now. Like the whole point is, I don't think that's working.
Yeah.
The sales continue to drop. I'm not saying that the books are bad. They're just not what I think people want for a lot of the comic books. That's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that they don't do fan service at all, and I'm just like, well, this whole Lost Serpent Prince is fan service. I wasn't planning on doing this book. I was going to do the Parsec book because I like to draw my speedsters. And when I did a couple pages from this, people were like, "Oh, we're the ones who want to see you do that book." So I switched gears.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm enjoying the crap out of it. I'm really hoping that this takes off, so that I can, even if it doesn't take off, I'm still gonna fucking do it on Patreon. Okay.
Right. And that's I think that's it's cool that people sometimes look at or like to paint the word as fan service as like this bad thing. I look at it as like this, like, yeah, that's what it should be. I mean, you got fans that want something out of a book, and you came up through the era. I mean, you came up from one of the best decades in comics, in my opinion, in the '90s, when there was just the explosion, and there was just uh, people could dog the '90s about a lot of things. That's fine, but the whole thing about the creativity, let's throw stuff at the wall and see if it sticks. There was a lot of new ground, in my opinion, being broke, and that was like what comics were, And so with your fan service, especially with the Lost Serpent Prince, or Basilisk when it originally was called, I looked at those pages, especially on Patreon when I saw them, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "That's what I've been waiting for in comics in the mainstream that I'm not getting." Like that is it. Like that's what a superhero should look like. That's what a book should look like. Um, and I think that's great. That's great about what you do for the fans. And I've said it over and over again. I think you're a very fan driven creator artist, and that's you don't see that very often. I don't think in these
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Well, I mean, you got to sell the book. I mean, so you got to cast a wide net with these things, and you can pinpoint it later if you want a little bit once you kind of find the audience, but it takes a while to find it. So I'm like not I'm hoping these things do really well. That'd be awesome. But figuring out what. Like the Anybody's, I don't think anybody you saw what was going on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't. It's still like just bits and pieces. So until you actually see what's coming out with the book and see what what we're doing with the characters and stuff. I mean, I threw stuff in there. I mean, there's a scene in the Anybody's, the main character. She gets her powers, or right after she gets her powers. She gets assaulted by, there's some random freaking people going and militia guys or whatever, some crazy, mercenary group attacks this freaking restaurant she works at. So she can, it's all the whole reason why they're there is so that she can, use her powers. So you can use your powers for the first time. But I made the freaking mercenary guys, Team 7.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just a bunch of goof. It's all like exactly, but that's what they're from.
Yeah,
they're inspired by. Most of them get killed.
Exactly.
But it's the whole point. A little bit fan service. It's like, if I Team 7 guys, though, I've also got we'll get a kick out of this. This is an instant joke for them. So I don't have any problem with that. There's I forgot about the couple Scott having sex or whatever it is in the corner of the restaurant. Totally forgot about that until someone mentioned it. I think probably shouldn't have put that on Kickstarter. Because I didn't see the bosses I drawn it, so I didn't remember that scene. So someone had mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh crap, we probably should have done that."
Yeah, I was just gonna, but that kind of stuff that's awesome, and that reminds me of like the '90s, because I used to love it when Image would do that. When you'd see Marvel characters pop up in an Image book, obviously they're drawn just a little bit, but you're like, you see Jean and Cyclops, in Wildcats, you see Cable pop up in, Blood Wolf or whatever. It's cool. Like that stuff is cool. I enjoy that.
It's a little goofy thing that you can do. I wish we did it more, but I think people are kind of worried about copyright. It's like, come on, it's like it's not the same character. It's like a similar kind of character.
Yeah.
It's fun. I get it on Twitter every now and then. I'll post a picture of the certain Basilisk guy. It's like, Backlash, and I was like, no, once he's colored, he doesn't look anything like Backlash. But
right, true.
I mean, they're similar. I was like, I can kind of see it, but that was the whole point. I mean, the DC wouldn't let me do anything with the character, so I just went back to the drawing board, like what the original character, because Backlash is based on an older character I brought to Wildstorm.
Yeah,
and I just went back to that guy and built from him, and built the whole vampire stuff. But the Backlash. The reason why Backlash could miss is because he was based on a character who was a vampire superhero. Not like Blade, like an actual superhero. Blade is just, a vampire hunter who's a vampire who's really cool.
Yeah.
This guy's an actual superhero in the leotard where Blade wore the cool jacket, and that's it. Had the motorcycle. It's one I remember really big, like right when I was working at the bookstore. The whole Night Stalkers thing.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really big at the time. So I was like, "Oh, cool, Blade." Vampire. And Vampire the Masquerade was out. I'm a nerd, and I was like, Forever Night was on television. It was like a ton of vampire stuff.
Forever Night, forgot about that.
Yeah,
Shit.
and it's like vampire stuff. I think, oh, cool. All right, I'll do vampire stuff. I was, vampire superhero. That'll explain how he gets his powers. And I'll do some sort of major explanation about how he gets bitten by a radioactive snake. Get his powers. So I was like, maybe it saves a lot of time. And I actually started it off where he was like dead on the slab. That was the story. It starts off, and then the whole vampire thing where the medical examiner is a woman. It's actually really Forever Night. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the medical examiner finds him, and he comes alive because she takes the stake out of his heart out because he had a stake in his heart. He's alive again. And it's like, oh. So I went back to that design, and I was heavily influenced by the Black Spider-Man costume. So it was like a black costume. He had like a white snake that kind of intertwined part of his body. A couple belts because it was the 90s. So he had some belts. And he had a bolo whip like Tigra from Thundercats because I thought that was cool. And then and put like fangs on it, so it looked like fangs from a serpent. And then because it was the 90s, they cut his hair out. I cut the top of his hat because I think, how am I going to do the eyes and stuff? There's a lot of black up there. Well, if I cut the top of his hair out, then he can have like white hair, and it'll stick out a lot. He's kind of striking on a page.
Yeah.
And so when Jim called me up to come do some stuff at Wildstorm, I brought my portfolio with me, and Jim looked through it, and that was one of the characters. He's like, "Oh, I like this guy." So Jim took the design and he added some more belts and some stripes on the arms and the leg stripe, and then the side whip. I changed the regular whip to a side whip. So it looks you can kind of see some of the influence there, but it's definitely like a change. So I went back to the original because I was like, oh, well, I can just go back to this.
Right.
I'm not starting, because I was like messing with some other designs and stuff. I have like, a ton of stuff that I sent Andrew, and then Andrew Dawes, my colorist. I said, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I he'd send me, and he's like, well, I like this one. He sent me a design that I'd done. And I was like, okay, I'll try that one. And that was the one that stuck. So, okay, that one works. And I build off of that a lot. And I needed a story. And I was like, well, we'll just start it off where you need to gotta find this other vampire. She's a vampire. To get some information about something that happened, I love ancient history, like ancient history.
Yeah.
And this was like one of the Denisovans or whatever they pronounce the new species of human would hit the news. I was like, man, I really like to do something like really ancient. That way I don't have to like deal with, like the whole. So I have enough black characters, I have enough white characters. So I create like the
box checking stuff.
All the superheroes are descended from this other race. So none of them are regular like humans. They're all descended from this one race.
It's not bad.
But they're like part humans. So it's like everything's mixed. So I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. I just don't want to make cool characters that kind of show up.
Yeah, when you and I have talked before, I mean, that's what I've always appreciated about our conversations, especially when Sean and stuff was involved, is just we want cool comics, cool characters without the drama. And I think that's one of the biggest things that had pulled me away from the mainstream, and why I've always been a backer of independent stuff anyway, even going back to when I was doing music and stuff. It's just I've always found more joy and more passion because you don't have the strings or the attachments or the things weighing you down. You can just do what you want to do, and embrace the art of it. And as in art, as in whatever, just not art, just in drawing, but just the art of comic book making and character creating.
Yeah, because characters go like all over the place. And it's like, I don't want to just be stuck doing, the whole stay in your lane thing, like draw and all. They want diverse creators do these characters. I don't think it's fair to any creator to be stuck. They should only do like this kind of character.
Right.
I think what's his name actually left. Didn't want to do some characters. Who's wrong? Deathstroke. writing district. Can't remember the name. Would you guys shut up? Damn dogs.
Every stream, they always got to say hi. Every stream.
Yes. They're going to bark now. I don't know why. Everything's locked up. They can't go anywhere. I don't know what the hell they do. But I don't think it's fair as a creator because like there's so many cool things around the world. I mean, I don't have any problem with someone from Japan wanting to do something characters in the United States. I don't think they should be not allowed to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was like, it's a weird struggle. And I think I don't want to have to, I don't like the idea of checking boxes. I just want to do cool characters. Who would be cool? What would be cool? Where can I pull this guy from?
Right. Yeah.
How can I make this woman, character really cool? So like half of my characters are like, except from this other race. There's one guy, the main guy here is a vampire. He's white, like white. Yeah,
like pale, like albino white.
Yeah, no, I mean like white with like blue highlights. White. He's not like and it's because he's from another. Like my character, I have a thing where there was this giant civilization, and they created interdimensional travel. So all of the different races, monsters, and creatures, and all sorts of stuff are from different dimensions. So cool. They all kind of came on Earth for this giant war. And then the transportation got destroyed, so they can't get back. So let's explain why there's like werewolves and vampires and mummies. They're all crap from other dimensions. But they're trying to survive on Earth. So sometimes they interbreed. So like you have the main guy here who's like originally from that war. He's, pure blood. They was the blood vampire. So he's a pure blood vampire. But the woman who stars later on, comes in later in the series, she's like half blood. So she looks more human, but the vampires were able to because it's basically it's all like different Earths, so it's kind of like a multiverse. But instead of it being superheroes, it's like monsters and creatures and all sorts of shit. That's
a cool concept.
So
I like that.
They come back, so they can interbreed with humans and stuff without any real problem. So you can have you wear creatures and you can have your But the main race that was here that created this device, they experimented on themselves. So they created their own superhumans, and then those genes they bred into the human race. So that those are like demigods and stuff throughout history. So it got real complicated when I was trying to figure all this stuff out.
No, I dig it.
Like a guy who's a vampire superhero wants to get information from this woman. I was like, well, what does he want information from? And I think he wants to know if he got basically put in suspended animation before the war ended, so he wants to know what happened and how can he get back to his planet, because he's a prince. He's a prince on his planet. He's the leader of the army or general. So he's trying to find the woman whose mother was the general. So he's trying to find this and get this information from her. So that's how the whole story kind of started, and then it's just kind of throwing random stuff in there. And that's kind of cool. And then I'll go through and have a bunch of old character designs. I had Andrew, he has a freaking file for me, and he's like, "Oh, let me send you these old designs you did," and that I used to do way back when I lived in Florida, 20-some years ago. And he sends me these designs, and I was like, "Huh, I could use that." And I was just don't throw away your old designs, kid.
Yeah.
You could use it later. So I was just dumping them in, and it says, "Oh, I can use that for this person. I can use this one for that one."
Right. Yep.
I created new stuff too, so it just kind of snowballed. So I have this whole universe with multiple projects that are all tied to each other, and it's I don't have enough hands, and I don't have enough time to do all of it, but I'm going to try. So that as someone said, that is my ultimate goal, is to do like Todd has it, or what Jim had a while. So I'm my own little universe. That's my goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
It might take a while because we don't have the means like we used to. I mean,
true.
The artists don't get the Although frick, I can't really believe what's it called? Gunslinger 1 sold 385,000 copies or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Todd, but hey.
I was gonna say, I mean,
I'll take some cash from that. Hey.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's ways to do it. Yeah, and I think that's what is missing for me.
That's why it's so excited. You mentioned earlier that you kind of lost interest in Marvel and DC, and I kind of get it. I'm kind of with you on that. I'm whatever. they're doing some cool shit over here. Let's look at this cool shit and maybe add to this stuff. There's a cool pile of stuff that you could do over here where we don't have the problems that we did before. And before, it was really, really, when we went through cost, it was really costly to do these damn books.
Yeah.
And it still is to produce them, but I mean, to make them, but like the printing costs of course now kind of screwed because of the whole pandemic.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's true.
But the prices have come down. It's not, you have these boutique printers that'll, won't be as expensive to print as they used to be, but it'll still be fairly costly. Sadly, like $2 or $3 to print an issue. That's still a lot of money. So you want to try to get as much in it as you can. But we have other venues though. I mean, I know the comics people hate the digital, but I freaking got Shonen Jump on my app on my pad. When that freaking new Bleach thing came out, I was right there when that thing came out.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a market out there for
Bleach.
people. Yeah, there's a market out there for digital.
For it, so I was like, and I do have manga books too. I mean, I have the books. I just read a Dragon Ball Super the other day. My internet went out for a bit, and I was like, oh well, I got this. I'll just read this. And it was great. I loved it, and I have like 2 or 3 other ones, but I put them somewhere, and I got to freaking find them now.
Well, I mean, I don't mind like every once in a while if I'm at work. I probably shouldn't admit this, but if I'm at work and I'm in a job or a break, well, I'll say that if I'm on break, I can pull up my phone and access like Comixology, and read some friggin' Darkness or whatever I want to pull up that's on there. It's nice. It's definitely a market for digital. I'd much rather have physical in my hands, but we were talking before about how costly it is to ship overseas, and sometimes having a digital tier is good for them.
That was the thing. I had actually talked to people like, oh, well, are you shipping overseas? You just said it's so expensive. I mean, I just like I thought yesterday I was just going through my YouTube scroll, and this cool dinosaur model showed up. I was like, ooh, it's on sale. I wonder how much. It's like $80, and I was like, well, how much is the shipping? And I was like, well, the standard shipping, which may or may not get here, is free. But the next up is like $38, and it's like it's a package that maybe like slightly larger than a shoebox. It's
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, nah, that brings it to like $120. I was like, $120. I had like my limits with certain things. I was like, is that worth $120? And I was like, I have the Carcharodontosaurus. Hopefully PNSO will do a Chickenotosaurus. I'll just pick that one up. Or hopefully they'll do a repaint. I could just get it from Amazon.
Right. Well, like case in point, I'm selling an ash can right now, just kind of jumping my DMs kind of thing. And I've had a few people across over the pond that have wanted to back it. And I want to, get into the hands of as many people want as possible. But I'll look up shipping for like Norway or something, and it's just for sending like a couple pounds. Like if you just estimated like a 2-pound thing, if you're talking about like a Gemini mailer or just selling, it was like $60 for shipping.
Oh yeah, well, send my art.
Yeah.
Overseas. Oh my God! And this is pre-COVID prices that I'm actually still charging because they charge me more money now.
Yeah.
Packing and everything. Like the packet is like $35.
Oh, jeez.
Like $15 for like the materials, and then $20 for the box. I was like, oh my God! I started adding my own stuff so I don't have to use so much packing. I got some masonite so I make sure nothing gets bent. So it's like $35 for the part, just to put that in a box that's stable and safe, and then it's $200. This is pre-COVID. It's $198 to ship to like London.
Oh.
To ship to Australia, it's like $205.
Yeah, I know it's crazy expensive for Australia.
And it's only slightly more. Like London is not that far, but Australia is really far. And then like they ship to like not a place in Sydney, like an outskirts place up on the coast. I couldn't remember what it was. We just picked like a random spot. It was like an extra $25, and then this is before the insurance.
Jeez.
Because I have to insure this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much it cost. It was like $4 or $5 for every $100, but I think they charge more now. Because like I sending something out, and it was like it's almost $6,000 worth of art, and it was about $200-$300 to ship it with the insurance.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I'm gonna insure the crap out of that.
yeah, absolutely. It's disheartening.
Like, oh, why is it so much? It's like, oh, I'm not putting stuff. I'm not sending. You might not get it if I send it like the post office. Plus, like the post office are not near me, and I have to go to them rural. I have to get my mail, so I get it at the UPS store. So I just drop it off at UPS because I'm right there. Now there's a FedEx across the street, but the prices really aren't that different. So,
yeah.
And they don't insure that high. I think they insure up to like I want to say 4,000 or 1,000. Can't remember.
I see a lot of people are pretty excited for books like The Lost Serpent The Lost Serpent Prince.
Yeah,
try saying that 10 times fast.
It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful. But I was trying to come up with a name that's copyright.
Yeah, but I mean,
he's making a joke that everything is like a sentence now, and I was like, yeah, well, you take all the good names are taken. You're kind of screwed if you want to copyright stuff because I know there's a book called Basilisk now. And I was like,
is there?
I think it's like a horror anthology. That just came out or is coming out recently.
Bastards.
I wish I took that name, but I think I found the Basilisk name. I really liked it. And I was like, do this stuff with like the throne and all sorts of stuff for later. I have like big plans, and I have an end. There is an end goal. So that's something I'd like to do this for a while.
Yeah.
But but it's like you need to have you can't get a name, and the names are just name the characters. Just give them like a regular name, and you do a visual, and then you can kind of copyright that.
Right.
But it's like when I was looking at Basilisk, and like I freaking Google image searched it, and I Google searched it, and the Marvel guy did not come up. And then like after I decided his name, and I mentioned it online, I do this and do that, and then then it comes up. Then I see the damn character, and I was like, oh, frick, I remember that from like what's that old Marvel book, Marvel Universe, where they put it was basically the who's who of Marvel. And there was a Basilisk guy. I like the drawing. I remember the drawing. My guy looks nothing like him.
Right.
But I was like, I like the drawing and the name. I was like, he has, but it's a mythical name, like unicorn, or you can call a character a unicorn. You just can't copyright it. But it's like Thor, Zeus too. So there's things where you can kind of skirt it and get away with it, but you can't copyright the actual name. So you have to basically copyright the book. So it's like Dragon Ball. It's its own little name, and Goku is like a name.
Right. Yeah.
Like
true.
a regular person. So.
I'm looking. And I'm sorry guys if I can't get to every question. I'm trying to. Sometimes they get lost, so I apologize about that. But so the green laser in the chat says many comics gators don't follow Kickstarter, and he had no idea that you had anything coming out. So you're getting definitely a lot of new eyes on the fact that you're doing some crowdfunding and that you're going to be doing crowdfunding in the future. And a lot of people are calling you to come over to Indiegogo because there's a lot of people that don't, and that's the thing. There's some people that don't back Indiegogo. There's some people that don't back Kickstarter.
I know this, and I explained this to them. So if Scott wants to do it, he has talked about it. We are definitely consider. Well, you guys have stepping on each other. He's definitely considering it. And if I did it my own one, because if the Serpent Prince does okay,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how well this stuff does. Not fair, we'll see how it does. I mean, the whole thing might fall apart. Who the hell knows? I mean, we're all working very diligently to get our preview stuff done. Mine's all drawn and inked and just waiting on finished colors and the logo. And I saw Regular on the inks, and he did such a freaking good job. I had inked a bunch of pages, and I'm wondering if I should have him re-ink it because it's so much better than mine.
Well, yeah.
Always get people better than you. It's like I don't understand why some of these artists and stuff they'll ink themselves and think, oh yeah, this is great. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm not a great inker. I will freely admit that this is not like my base, like my main skill. There are people who are better than me. So if I can get better people, I will try to get better people.
I agree. I've always been the same thought. Like On my book.
If I was gonna do one myself, I would definitely go Indiegogo. And it's just not based on any sort of ideological thing. It's just that I can freaking use the damn program or the website so much easier than Kickstarter. I have to have my wife order stuff on Kickstarter for me. I cannot use the damn thing. She downloaded the app, so she has the app. She's like, it's not really that much easier than using.
Right.
But Indiegogo, I can batch stuff and order stuff myself. I have.
Yeah. It's a issue. User a little bit more user friendly. The way that it's set up for sure.
And I think that's why I hate the whole this and that ideology. It's like I just want.
Well, that's what.
There's no rule. And there's politics in my book. It's basically politics from the world, and it's going to be there will be some eventually politics because it's basically like a Game of Thrones kind of they trying to get back to his home world and figure out why his brother's on the throne kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to have some politics like that, but I don't want that. I'm so tired of the stuff online.
Yeah.
I've muted so many people, and it's not. Your timeline, your Twitter feed, you can say what you want on it. I just don't want to have to hear it all the time. I just want to break sometimes and make some jokes.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
Well, and it's supposed to be what we do. And I talk about creators, comic book creators, whether you're indie or pro, what we do, it should be an escapism for your readers. You are inundated.
Exactly. The whole point of the superhero comics is like the hero's journey.
Right. And exactly.
If you're not giving them that, then that's what people want. Even though it's like you know the hero's journey, you've been told it so many different times in so many different ways. But it's like people freaking love it.
Yeah, it's a great format.
That's what all of these old comics are based on. It's the hero's journey. It's what the manga and anime are all based on. It's like there was one channel that I listened to. They do like little animations. I can't remember the name of it. Oh fuck it! But they have this whole thing for Journey to the West. There's like 7 or 8 parts. It's a I want to say woman. I don't know if that's correct or not.
I can't think of it.
But she reanimates this stuff and then she narrates it, and she's just got this funny. She does the Journey to the West, and it basically takes the best part of it because it's really simply animated. She's got a nice clean style and everything. It's really simple, but it was so freaking funny. What she did is she just took like all the really good parts, and then she makes fun of like all the stuff that just keep because in comic books how random guy comes and attacks, they're walking down the street, a bank's getting robbed. It's always
right.
It's playing this stuff up, and the way she did it, I was laughing my ass off for like an hour and a half watching all of this stuff. But it was basically talking about the heroes, and she also does these great things where she talks about stories and how they're made and the different types of characters. Like the Lancer character, who's essentially like Vegeta, the guy who's the bad guy who turns out one that he still competes with the hero, but he's kind of friends with the hero. And that's like a specific trope. And so she'll go through all these tropes, and the hero's journey is you need to hit these points because this is what people want. They just want this kind of stuff in a story.
Yeah.
And it just you might have seen it 100 times or 1,000 times, but it's like ingrained into us. And maybe this is the ancient storytelling that they would tell around the fire, and it's just like a thing that we freaking like to hear. And it's always like the person doesn't know they have abilities, or they're just like a regular person to start off, and then And I mean, the problem with the '90s stuff is we didn't do that, and I actually didn't do that here either. But I mean, he starts off. He's not like he doesn't have like like a prince. But I hate dealing with like the only reason why I hate Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I don't really hate him. It's just like I don't like he has no money, he's broke, he's on his luck, this and that.
Right.
I've seen that a million times. Batman is like him having $1 billion is it's a way to get around him having all those cool gadgets and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like not what makes the character interesting. So it's like that's just kind of back. It's stuff in the background. But you want to know the character who he has a reason to do stuff and he's trying to do things. And I think that the comics have kind of lost a lot of that now. They're just kind of because the characters are some of them are just so old.
Right, exactly.
And they've done this stuff so many times. They're trying to come up with like a new thing that's interesting. That that they can go through. Like what do you do with Iron Man after the whole thing with alcohol and being an alcoholic? Him overcoming that thing. That was like it's a
true.
You can't really go through that. I mean, the next thing one thing they did later on was with the Armor Wars, which is really good. Where they're still full of tech, he's trying to get it back. I thought I loved that arc of Iron Man. I don't know if I'd want to draw that damn suit for that for years. But I did read that arc, and I love the artwork on that. Blayton did an awesome job. That freaking stealth costume was still like one of my favorite designs, but it's just he just tasted the Iron Man costume and made it black.
Yeah.
Simple.
Real quick to the chat. Man, who was it that asked? I think it was it Nicholas Gear? Yeah, I think that Twitter is the best place to follow Brett on, right? Am I correct in that?
Yes, because that's the one I got it on my phone and my iPad and stuff like that. I have the Patreon, but I have to open an app to go to that, so it's kind of I'm super lazy.
Well, yeah.
Man, I have to get an app for that? Oh, I don't want to have to do that. Everything wants an app. I have a Pizza Hut app on my phone, and I wish I could just order the same crap the next time. Like, would you like to order the same thing you ordered the last time? Yes, please. And I had to hit 3 buttons, and that'd be done. I'd be so happy with that. Then I have to reorder everything and enter to the because I don't want to put my credit card information on there.
Right.
We should PayPal. That'd be nice.
See, like I said, guys, I apologize if I didn't get to your questions. I just got lost in the chat there. I tried to get as many as I could that I saw pop up. I'm trying to go over now just to see if there was any, but yeah. Real quick, wrapping up on the hero's journey thing. Yeah, absolutely. I watched a documentary on the hero's journey, and it went back to storytelling from just way far back. And they just covered all these ancient stories that all had the hero's journey.
It goes back to Hercules.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. It all goes. It's like this is why the journey to the West was interesting because it's kind of the same thing, but it's from a culture that's completely separated. But they still. Well, I won't say completely separated because the Silk Road was around.
Right.
So they could have gotten information back and forth. But I just find it. I thought it would be interesting to test. And I'm not versed well enough in South American and North American mythologies from the native peoples. That would be kind of interesting to see how that went. I should probably look into that when I get a chance, actually.
But I mean, it was cool. It was cool to see the documentary because it just kind of covered what it was, and it showed what it inspired, and it was basically what you just said. It's the same formula, but if you can do it in different ways, but it's something that we all gravitate towards. Star Wars, anything like that. It's the hero's journey,
Journey with Luke Skywalker. Yeah, it's his Lancer is fucking Han Solo.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's just a cool kind of once you realize that, it's okay. Well, how do I make this? And then even when I was working on the server print, I just when we did stuff an image back in the day, we just kind of winged it.
Right.
You come up with a real basic idea, and then we just kind of do story after story. You build up the mythology that way. That's how I started this, and then once I started, I pieced together stuff. So I had to basically go back and make sure everything would kind of fit. What I had already done, I was like, oh, well, geez, what did I do here? And I was like, well, I changed that with dialogue, so I'll just kind of use that, just get rid of that word balloon, and I only have a few pages written. Anyways, none of it's set in stone, and we can change it if we need to.
Yeah.
And my wife got me some crap for those first 3 or 4 pages I gave to her. She was like, she just started laughing. She said, "This is terrible. And this line right here is terrible." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "I haven't written anything in 15 years." Let's do it. Go back in and make a couple changes. And then I did the Parsec script because that's actually all. First half of it is drawn and written. And she said, "Okay, this one's better." And I sent that to Andrew Dawhouse, and he really liked it. It's very wild. Even though it's basically like a Wildstorm version of the Flash kind of thing. It's It's just because he's a speedster. Not really like the Flash. It's kind of funny working on that stuff because originally I was like, oh, well, I'll just take a Wally story.
Yeah.
That I had created that they turned down and do something with that. And then, but I was like, oh, I need Catalyst. I need how he gets his abilities. I came up with something that, I don't want to use this like a force kind of thing. Aliens works though. So.
Yeah, right. That's.
I did something with that, and but I was like, it's not totally aliens, but it's different enough. And then the story just kind of went, I have like it ties into the whole ancient war. So all the books that I have, this one, and even the one I was trying to do on Patreon if I get time, the Omega Force or whatever the hell I was calling it. I'm thinking Mega Man, Mega Force. I can't remember.
Right.
I can't use Omega Man. I can't use Omega Force.
Yeah.
But it all ties together in like one universe. So I wanted to try to make because I'm used to working like that with Wildstrom. That's just kind of how it is for me. And but yeah, it was weird. Like the whole Wildstrom 25th anniversary thing, kind of just I wasn't interested in like. I'll just draw these comic books for a while, for however many years till I retire or whatnot. And they gave me that Wallstrom thing came, and I got to do Backlash again. And I really enjoyed like making the story, and even it wasn't even anything major. It was just basically him walking through a fucking simulation of bad guys to kind of recap how the history went.
Yeah.
And that was just like, oh man, I really would like to do more like this. And then I was working on Titans at the time, and I pitched a couple ideas, and actually used the really basic part of it. And they kind of like they didn't do what I wanted to do with it. I was just like, kind of getting into the whole pizza fish thing. They just had a fight at the pizza fish warehouse. I think, there's more to it than that. They needed a filler issue to kind of get the bridge from one issue to the next story arc.
Right. Yeah.
So they didn't take the whole. It's like part of my idea, but they didn't take all of it. That's it's like frustrating because it's like I was working on the X-Men books, and I think all these ideas started popping in my head. And I think I'd like to do this, and I'd like to do that. I love to look at this character, and when you talk to editorial, we don't have any plans for that. Jeez. That's all I ever hear.
Yeah.
Everything that I want to do is like, we don't have any plans for that. We're not going to do that. And that wasn't just at the X-Men office thing. They were really nice.
Right.
I didn't like pitch any ideas related to that. I just asked for what projects. I didn't have more projects, but I realized after working at DC for so long, I just wasn't getting. As an artist, you're not valued.
Right. Exactly. That is frustrating.
Can you get it done? Okay. So you're not valued as a creator the same way as a writer is.
Exactly.
And that used to be a different thing. There used to be much more collaboration. Collaborated a lot. The Backlash stuff. And he's like, talking with Todd with Spawn. And I just talked to him last week. And we're going over the next issue. And I was going over what do you want to draw on the next?
See, that's cool. I like hearing that kind of stuff.
So he's like, what about this? He's like drawing this. I was, yeah, I like drawing that. He's, okay, we can do more of this. Or what if we do this? What if we bring this character back? We do this. And so we kind of work like a real loose, really very loose idea about what's going to happen with issue 5. I know he has an overall plan for the character involving Spawn and stuff. So like why he goes into the Scorch, the team book and everything. We worked out a bit of a backstory for him when we first started working on it. That was, I think, covered in some. I haven't actually seen the gun side. I can't actually look at the book yet. I'm so busy. What they did with the other backup stories. There's some backup stories in the past. So I mean, it's some collaborations so that you kind of know what you're going to get. Like, I work with Scott. I'll get like. When he did it a little bit in Anybody's, where he could be like, there's like 2 or 3 pages where you can just have a big fight. You need to start here and you need to end here.
Right.
So the character or characters need to be at point A, and then at the end they need to be at point B. You go nuts with the middle part. And that's a lot of fun. So,
I was just going to say, yeah.
It's definitely more collaboration. So, but when you get panels. They're just kind of like I used to draw horizontal panels because Dan Abnett really liked Teen Titans was like, oh, horizontal panels, 5 horizontal panels. And that's just kind of how it became like my standard way my mind worked. So I still think mostly in horizontal panels, and it's kind of funny because I know Todd thinks more in vertical panels. So I'm trying to like bridge the gap a little bit, but I also want to make Gunslinger kind of my own, it's still kind of my own.
Yeah, it's cool.
Art-wise. And it's weird working back at Independence because, we don't have the comics code.
Yeah.
The ghost of the comics code is
now you're
there.
talking.
I mean, there's no comics code now, but the ghost is gone.
Yeah.
Or we didn't have it, so I was like, we could be more violent. Todd's like, oh, this person stabs him in the head. I was like, well, really? The whole scene in Gunslinger 1 where he like ties an angel to the post and he's like teaching the other guy how to shoot him. I was like, damn, okay. In the fight scene, they make it as brutal as you can. And
that's awesome.
Like, all right, I'll do that. You hit the angel in the head with a freaking engine.
Freedom. I love it. We got a couple questions. So I got 2. I'll ask 2 in a row here. You just so Ja Rose said in the chat, when are you going to do a dinosaur book? And then Nicholas Gear said, any upcoming conventions?
Conventions I'm still iffy on. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens. Got asked to do Amazing Comic-Con Las Vegas. And I know that the Artist League guys are doing some shows. Also, Art Guild wants me to do one. And I got asked to do the El Paso show again. I'm not really worried about the shows as much anymore. I'm going to get my 3rd dose in another couple weeks.
Yeah.
I'm just a little worried about the airplanes because it's such a compact space for such for a long period of time. And plus, my wife has hurt both of her arms this year, so she's having some problems with.
Oh, that's too bad.
Doing things.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why I want to. And so as I went to run generators and stuff, and she requires her to turn things on and do things, and she that's physically having problems with that now.
Oh, jeez.
So I got like a new push start generator. Hopefully that'll help her out. So I don't know about shows. If I do shows, it'll probably be later this next year. I know everybody wants to get out. I do too. I do miss going out and having such fun, talking to people. I was supposed to do Dallas Fan Expo, I think last year. Maybe this year. That was when I was supposed to, when they were going to have it. They usually have it at the beginning of the year. But the whole COVID thing kind of screwed everything up. And it looks like things are starting to kind of turn around and there will be more shows. And the New York Comic Con, I'm not hearing any terrible reports like half the people got COVID or anything like that.
That was a lot.
Hopefully, I'm hoping next year we'll be able to start getting out and do. Because I have been asked to a couple shows. So if we can get set up and move to the other place, that'll be much easier, and I'll be able to actually go for longer periods of time. So if they're getting that new building, the place set up, because it was so far out, to get things out here, to get things set up is just like a nightmare. And that's just off a main road, and I can just have stuff delivered there, hopefully. So here, I got to haul everything myself. So, but yeah, I would like to do some more shows. I think everybody would like to do some shows.
Right. Yeah. And then the other question was, doing any dinosaur books?
The dinosaur books. There's a dinosaur in Parsec. Dinosaur book by itself. No like initial plans right now. I do have some ideas of something that I wanted to do with one of the other projects. I'm still like trying to figure out a good story for it though. And then I have the one dinosaur thing that I would like to do. Maybe I can do that. Maybe do it in anthology. I even thought about. I was really thinking of doing an anthology of just my own stuff. I could do, like 4 stories, like 10 pages long, and then do 3 or 4 of those. That was actually one of my ideas. Like they do crowdfund 3 books a year, and I could do an anthology in there, so I could start it with like Lost River Prince and have like 20 pages of that, or 10, 15 pages of that, or 20 pages of that, and then have like like 10 pages of parsec or 20 pages of parsec or whatever, and then like another 2 stories like 10 pages. So I could get some of the other stories that I have. I mean, I have like a 5-page story drawn. There's a project that didn't happen. Another anthology that didn't happen. I have another one, like another 4-page story that's drawn for another anthology that didn't happen. So I have like little bits and pieces here. That was one of my ideas, was to basically do like an anthology kind of series. And I had this one story called Kevin of the Ape-Men, which has dinosaurs and people in it. But I also wanted to do like strictly a dinosaur story too.
Oh, nice.
I have talked to a friend of mine who's also does like to do dinosaurs, and he's not a contract right now. We've talked about possibly doing an anthology with dinosaur artists, comic book dinosaur artists. Once he's done with that, so that's a possibility. I would still like to do that, because he wanted to do like the one era. My era's like the next era after that. That's my favorite era.
Yeah.
So he could do his favorite ones, because he likes those damn sauropods. And my favorite dinosaurs, Acrocanthosaurus, so that would be like that era. And I did a little bit of that. So I was trying to draw Dino-November things a few years ago. I did like kind of like a story.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like a 30-page story with a bunch of dinosaurs and stuff like that. But I only had like an hour and a half to draw those a day, so I didn't have a ton of time to spend doing it. It was a lot of fun
though. In the chat, Crazy Mad, yes, Gunslinger Spawn is Brett's Interiors. I know there's some backup stories, I think maybe by, what was it, Philip Tan? Was he doing some stuff in that book?
Philip did one. Kind of funny, because Philip contacts me. And he's like, dude, are you not doing any more Gunslinger? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, Todd asked me to do a story for it. And I was like, oh, well, the first issues have like extra stories in it. And he's like, oh, okay. No, I'm still drawing it. He's like, Todd wanted me to do, like, I want to do a year, you want to do a year, you want to do 2 years? He wants me to do a run on it. So I was like, I'm planning for at least a year at this point. So that's my plan is that. Like,
nice.
I said, I'm issue 5, so I'm almost halfway done. So.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, good. I was hoping it was gonna be a longer run than just, because when he announced all the names he was bringing on for Spawn Universe and like all the other projects he was doing, and your name was announced, I was like, man, put Brett on for a decent amount of issues. Just don't bring him in as a 1 or 2 issue guest star, because that would.
No, he said because if you wanted to show 1 issue, but I think, oh well, Marvel wasn't offering me any projects, and he's like, oh well, we can offer you this, and I was like, oh okay, and it's like he wants to build a universe, and I was like, oh, that sounds like old Wildstorm stuff, so that kind of makes me feel kind of at home. It's kind of what I'm kind of looking for with doing this stuff, so that I can do this. Like my day job is Gunslinger, and then I can do my creator-owned stuff at night. And then the Artist Elite thing came around. I was like, well, that's like not a huge commitment.
Yeah, I
can handle that. I have stuff already done, so I can just kind of use that story and use those characters for that, and I can use that as hopefully a springboard to doing the regular series, which is what I'd really like to do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I really hope that comes about someday as well.
Yeah, because I really thought about taking the Image, but
yeah.
I'm like, I love, still like I love the idea of Image. I was just like, a little worried that it kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, well, I mean,
there's so many like high profile guys there.
Well, that and Image has their own issues going on right now.
Yeah.
So that's. Yeah, that's
it's interesting to see. As I said online, I was like, I'm hoping people get. They're in like Seattle, so I don't know what the cost of living is up there. So that comes into a lot of this too. I mean, if you like Perch had a thing where some of the salaries like 40,000 to 50,000.
Yeah,
that'd be great for certain places, but it's not great for other places. So it kind of depends. I don't know.
That's true.
It's it's like, I was like, oh man, I don't know how much my dad made. Like, oh man, that's actually more than my dad made. Just us selling insurance, doing an insurance thing.
Right.
It's like, but I was like, what I make, maybe they have, hopefully they have, if they're family, they have 2-income house, so it's like not that big a deal. But if they're doing a lot of extra work, yeah, totally. But like, where's the money going to come from?
Right.
Because Image has like they make some off the books if the books sell a certain number, but if they don't hit that number, they don't really make any extra money besides the initial fee that they charge.
Yeah.
So there's like they're what they make is essentially capped. So it's like what is that enough for what goes? I don't know what everything entails over there. Doing the books and stuff is a pain in the ass, and you have to talk to all these people and get everything going. So I mean, I hope they can work something out where they get what they get the money that they need to keep going. And that last thing though was like, ooh, that's kind of that's going to drive creators away.
That was my biggest issue. And that was when I was
that's a problem. It's basically if you get into fights online, the first thing that happens is you're called this or you're called that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, half that list I've been called because I didn't I prefer Wonder Woman to Lois Lane. You're sexist. I was like, she has more monsters. And it's like, oh, well, Lois Lane, you can do that with Lois Lane. I was like, you can do it with Lois Lane.
Right.
And, put her in a suit. And and I really don't like drawing people typing and stuff like that. That's not that fun. I'd much rather have someone fighting like Gorgon. So like my whole thing is like, yeah, well, what I would like my pick, but the Lois Lane fans are they're really passionate and they get mad at you. so you get called all these things online. It's like, well, is any of this true? I wrote an article 10 years ago, or whatever it was, that this was a time when they were pulling atheists out of cars in other countries and cutting them into pieces.
Oh.
Happened in England twice, and happened in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and a couple other places. This is a thing that was going around, and you get pissed off with this kind of stuff. And these are just people who just basically said online, "Oh, well, I'm an atheist." And, they get killed for it. So it's like extremists of anything, even the atheist extremists,
right?
Bad. You don't want to go too far down that hole.
Right.
So you got to, everybody kind of, pull back. I do understand how, you get into a new thing and you kind of go down that rabbit hole and you kind of become kind of more extremist at first, but you got to pull back and you realize that most people just don't care. They just want to live their own lives. They have their own views as long as they don't screw somebody over exponentially.
Right.
Your views don't hurt me if you go to church on Sunday. That doesn't affect me. Go ahead.
Right.
Fun.
Well, I mean, the whole ability to be able to have cordial relationships and conversations with people that think the complete opposite with you is an art that's being lost in the world today.
Yeah, and so it's like you have to understand that. And then the other thing is a lot of people they assign themselves to a specific group. So it's like anyone who is a Muslim is of what is the term? Middle Eastern origin. But it's that's not true.
Right.
There's a bunch of people in Africa, and there's a bunch of people in Spain and Portugal and stuff like that. They're Muslims as well. They're not the same. So you have to basically learn how to compartmentalize an ideology as opposed to an actual group of people. So not every Christian is white.
Right. yeah, that's for sure.
And that's just so. But there are extremist Christians who are just I watched this thing called Jesus Camp, which was frightening to me. I was like, oh my God, these poor kids. And I feel bad about anybody kind of being so indoctrinated into anything. You don't get a choice to actually, you're so ingrained into you at one point. But they the kids don't have a chance to think for themselves at all. But it was to me, it was like fighting about what they wanted to do with, going to fight and die. They're like the ultimate fundamentalists. What do they call them? So specific group.
Well,
the theocrats or whatever it is. That's not what it is.
There's
but the way the world is now and where everybody's kind of connecting, it's like you kind of learn. I do think it's kind of cool to learn about other people's religions too. So that's like the other thing. It's like I like that kind of stuff. I like to know what is going on in this book and that book. What do these guys believe? What do these people believe? And it's kind of interesting to see, and I know a lot of people don't hear this, but kind of how everything kind of intertwines about how one of these things feed up and feed into another one, and you have to get the whole story. The flood with Noah and stuff, and then they do that like Gilgamesh, and there's like two other stories that are similar to that too, from like in Mesopotamia.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of other stories that I mean, almost every culture in the world talks about a flood or the flood, and I mean, I'm a Christian, and I've done a lot of research and looking into other religions over my lifetime, just because I'm curious, which hasn't changed my thought process on my own religion, but it kind of gets back to the whole thing you and I that you were just saying is, um, you gotta. We are all so completely different people. We all think different. We have different, you know, uh, paths in life or whatever you want to call it, but we can still all get along and all, respect one another, and that's just, it makes me sad when I see a world that kind of is quickly going away from that, especially social media and stuff like that, where it's just like, oh man, I mean,
I mean, I know that the left likes to point out that the right has some terrible things, and they do, but so does the left. So it's like, that was the whole point of that whole article. Like every group has these factions.
Yep.
That are just, like they take things, and there's always going to be those people who just kind of take things to extreme, and
absolutely,
you can't judge a group based on those specific little pockets of, extremists. And that was the whole point of that article. I mean, I don't think that, if you're a Muslim, that you should be forced to follow the Christian rules.
Right, exactly.
I don't think a Christian should be forced to follow the Muslim rules. I don't think a Buddhist should be forced to follow like an atheist rules or whatever. That's not really a religion, but there's no really rules. But it's
yeah.
Have your you can as long as you don't like screw with somebody else's stuff. It doesn't really let them that's why I think schools need to be neutral, unless it's a freaking Catholic school or a Muslim school or whatever it is. That's kind of inherent in the school,
right?
That was a weird time. I mean, it's so weird that, it's going back to the whole thing with that whole thing with image. It's like you have this group of people deciding what books everybody else can read and what books they can produce, and they can just cancel stuff. Like, so if someone who does this book and they have a deal with Image, and someone says something that someone else thinks is bad, but like I said earlier, like I used women.
Right.
And some people will get upset about that. And it's like, oh, that person is this. And it's like, well, are they really, or is it just not no terminology, or because a lot of stuff changes so drastically in weeks, and everybody expects you on social media, at least they expect you to be up on all the new terms.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm watching funny dog videos. So
right. Exactly.
I don't know any of this stuff, so I'm like not sure what the terms are or how I'm supposed to use it. But if you get on those. And some people can be really vindictive about it, and if they happen to be, I'm not saying that they are, anybody who's on this council who gets to decide, and you put in all this money for this project and everything, and you paid Image, and you're all ready to go, and then at the last second it gets canceled because you use he instead of she, and you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has a name that you don't know. I mean, it's one of those names that like Daryl. It can go both ways. You don't know. You use the wrong term because you don't know. I don't know half these people that on half of the comic pros. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what half of them look like. I couldn't tell you the sex of them. I can only kind of tell by the name or gender. So to me, it's like, that one as a creator, I would stay away from, just because I would be worried that something would happen and my project would get screwed up.
Yeah,
and you don't want it's like they haven't make this giant explain all this stuff. Just like, I just want everybody to kind of look at a book that doesn't have anything to do with any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's.
I find all this stuff interesting. I read all these apocryphal texts from the stuff that's not in the Bible, all the other books and Gospels and stuff like that. It's just so, and you can, I use it for research, or I just find a lot of stuff interesting. Maybe I can use that for a story at some point, or something similar, or like the aspects of this, or like the aspects of that. Like I watched that Midnight Mass show, and it was on Netflix. And my biggest issue was like, how does that guy not know that's a freaking demon or something like that? I think he keeps calling it an angel. It was driving me up the wall. I was thinking on the back of my head, like, well, and I know on like a lot of the books that the angel were frightening and scary and stuff like that. I think, yeah, but that's clearly a demon.
Right, it's clearly a demon.
That's clearly a demon. The angels had multiple heads and they had multiple wings and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, that's what drove me out the wall. It was started off really good, and then like towards the end, it just kind of like, why is everybody so freaking stupid? They're all stupid. It was driving me up the wall.
In the chat, Murph Ballad Celestial says, Booth seems way cooler and chill than I would have imagined. Yes, absolutely. If you've seen any of the shows we've had him on, every show has been like this. Very, very chilled, relaxed, very open about a lot of topics. Yeah. It's really, it's awesome.
Some people get mad at me because they're like, "Oh, you're not excited enough about your projects or whatever it is." Well, I think I'm super excited. I really want to get these damn things out and people to see them and stuff like that. But I don't want to go like harps just on the projects online. It's kind of I want to be able to sometimes have a little bit of a dialogue and talk about things, or like ask questions. And invariably, when I ask questions, it completely goes off the rails into something else. It's like, why am I even asking this question? But at least it's some sort of sometimes it gets really kind of fun and interesting. I mean, but other times it's just like, oh God, that's just like my wife's like, you stepped in it again. I was like, yes, I know, I stepped in it again. Because you can't. It's Twitter. You get limited explanation. And,
yeah.
It's like, the Comic Gate guys went after me on one. I'm going to do this book, and they're like, "Oh, you should crowdfund it now." I was like, "Well, I like Jimmy Palmiotti, not Jimmy Palmiotti, but I like Jimmy Palmiotti stuff too. Coffin Comics, Brian Pulido. The books are pretty much done. They're done, so they come out pretty fast. I'm worried that the fans might, if you have to wait like a year for stuff, it might be you kind of lose interest. I know I do if it's too long. So I want to get the interest from the book. So if you did the Kickstarter, it'd be like you get the Kickstarter, and then 2 or 3 months later you get the book. So it's not like a huge gap.
Right.
But they got mad at me because they want, you just need to do 5 pages. Yeah, but I want it to be more fully done.
And you can do it whatever way you want to do it. I think.
But there's like the loyalists want you have to follow this rule.
Right.
You this, and then you have to launch it this way, and launch it that way, and launch it this way. And I was like, but I don't want. I can't. Well, I can't do some of those things. But 2, I want to make sure. I want to make sure it gets done. I don't want. You see those some of those Kickstarters that they never get fulfilled. I don't, or Indigo or whatever that never get fulfilled.
Yeah, it's an issue.
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to do that because I want to continue to do this. So I want to make sure.
It's a reputation thing, it's commendable. Yeah. And like I said, there's different ways of doing it, and there's different thoughts too by the fans. There's some fans that don't mind crowdfunding the book and waiting a year for it as long as it comes on time. They don't mind that. There are other people that want to, like you said, crowdfund a book and have it come within 3 months or whatever. Nicholas Geary in the chat said having the books near complete before launching a campaign is the best way to do it. And like I said, it's a different mindset. I know here in Comicsgate, it's been a debate. because there have been late books, so it's like, do you
Yeah.
wait for the book to get done and then launch it? But then in some aspects, having the book launch also helps you finance it, so they can
Yeah,
get
no,
done and
no,
get out.
no.
It's
Yeah, and that's why I was like, okay, well, if I can get like the pencils and the script done, so that part's done. And to me, that takes the longest.
yep.
My idea was to do that, and then I would not fund it, and then take the money so I could pay the inker and the color and the lettering and whatever, all the other stuff. But drawing the stuff takes money. It does take money out of my own pocket.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You don't pay yourself essentially.
Yeah. So it's like to me, it's like there's like trying to figure out a happy medium between the two. But then O'Brien Polito made a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the character that was already established. There's that fact too. It already has a fan base built in.
Right.
So it's like if I got like backlash, though, to write the backlash, I'm pretty sure I could probably make I do well on a Kickstarter if I just like put this 5 pages up really quick, put them on Kickstarter. Hey, I need to fund the rest of this. I know.
Oh yeah.
Get enough funding, but doing like a big anybody's, which did okay. But we're trying to get it out. Trying to get to more people cheap for a lower price. People got mad at me on Kickstarter on Twitter for this too, because I was like, oh well, what if $20 instead of 25?
Right.
And they're like, no, it's 25.
All these things are debates,
Pull my leg for an extra $5, but
yeah.
But at the same time, I think I still want to make it affordable, because I know some people were saying, oh, I don't have the money. So I was like, we did talk earlier about the shipping. So I think a digital version for overseas people, so they don't have to pay that, but they can at least still look at the project and stuff like that. And I know, like the comments, people have a problem with like the digital stuff. It's like, oh, it'll be pirated. But you've already made your money on the book. It doesn't matter. That's not, these people aren't. They aren't people that were going to actually buy the book. They didn't pay for it to begin with, so they weren't going to buy it. Will they buy more stuff? But the book's already out there. It's already been sold. So
yeah, well, I'd say that
they used to scan pages and pirate it that way, guys. Sorry. The pirating is not a new thing.
Yeah, it's I've found that if you talk to 5 or 10 different people, you're probably going to get 4 or 5 different opinions on stuff.
Yeah,
and
the
it's
the other funny thing is like the crowdfunded books, they're happy to spend the money on those because they're supporting the creators.
Yeah,
totally get that. But then it's like, okay, well, but they still want the printed books cheap, like $1.50. I was like, you can't. That $1.50 pays for shipping and printing, maybe.
right.
So because and the costs are going to rise because of this. They never go down. Just so you know, when I first worked at Image, about a year after I first started, there was a paper shortage and the prices went up. That's why they went from $1.99 to $2.50. So expect the jump.
Yeah.
And then once they start getting stuff back going, there's going to be another jump in the prices. That's just sadly the nature of the beast. But they have to charge the prices because they're not selling hundreds of thousands of copies.
Lost Brett again. Hold on a second. Let me try calling back. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure. I know this has been going on for quite a bit. Oh no, I lost him. All right, let's see. See if I can get him back here real quick, or see if he calls back. But I know that's a conversation that's been going on in Comicsgate with the backing up project when it's done, trying to wait a year for it, quality of books, pages of books, paper thickness, all that kind of stuff. So everyone's having the same kind of issues. It's really interesting hearing his take on it, because I know he's coming a little bit more. And if you've been following him on Twitter, you've seen the back and forth that he's done with crowdfunding or not. I think it's easier for us here in Comicsgate because you see the support, you see the outpour when it comes to people releasing books, and to get somebody to realize that it's not always the easiest. All right, let's see if we can get him back here. Hey.
I tried calling back twice. I got your voicemail.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I'll tell you.
Interesting enough that your voicemail sounds like like usually when you get to connect to the voicemail, it sounds like it copies via voicemail. Yours doesn't.
I appreciate that. I don't even know what it is anymore. Like I can't remember what I set it up as. I've had to change it a couple different times, but yeah, we'll wrap this up because we've lost you twice here. I won't keep you too much longer. Just one thing. I know Jaro I think is overseas, and he said please do digital because international shipping is brutal, and I think that's the sentiment of a lot of people that can't physically get a book. So I think that's a good thing to have in your campaigns.
I'm all for digital. That's why I made sure that we had that. I made just a special tier when we did the antibodies thing. I was like, hey, we needed just a digital tier. If Scott had it bundled with the regular one, I was like, no, we need just a digital tier too because of the overseas people. So yeah, no, I mean, I totally understand, and yeah, I'm totally behind that. It's a freaking nightmare to ship anything right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was really bad. I had like all my paychecks stuck in the mail for like 3 weeks, and the beginning of September. I was like, I was waiting for checks. I got like all those paychecks coming, and it's like Todd's in Phoenix, and it took like 3 weeks for his check to get hit.
Jeez.
I was like, it's literally like 6 hours away.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, so that's just here. I can only imagine how nuts it is trying to get things overseas at this point. It has improved here, but
yeah,
it's constant. Todd still does checks.
Yeah. Well, I'll say from the chat today has been great, guys. You've been awesome. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all your questions. There were some really good ones in there that I've just lost. I know that Brett, you've got a lot of support and you got a lot of fans here in Comicsgate. I know that Eddie Winkler specifically put a bunch of questions in here. He's a huge fan of yours. He's got an awesome book called Sovereign Wolf that came out this year. It looks absolutely gorgeous. But he just kind of asked a simple question. He said, what are your feelings on Comicsgate? And before you say anything, I just want to say to the chat, Brett wouldn't have come on the show if he had negative stuff, because I explained this, and Brett's been on our show before, and I told him there have been people that refuse to come on our show because of this. And Brett's here. He's talking open with stuff. So I wasn't answering for you, but I just want to throw that out there.
I try to be completely as honest as possible. I knew what it's kind of hard to remember exactly how it all kind of started, and I think that the problem is the way it started. If it hadn't started that way, I think that it might have had a more broader appeal, because I actually agree with some of the things. But it's a tough thing, because I agree that I think and I've been saying this for years, that the comics have kind of lost, they lost the superhero comics specifically, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
lost the kind of superhero-ness. They're not doing superhero-ness, and whether I've heard people say that it might be the Joss Whedon kind of thing, where they kind of got rid of they did the funny banter and stuff like that, but they got rid of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer killing the monsters and stuff. They kind of got rid of that part. So that they took part of it, but they kind of didn't know the whole formula. And I agree. I mean, I did love Buffy the Vampire Slayer too. And so I like the witty banter, and so combining the two, but because it's a comic book, and you can actually go. They were limited with the budget on Buffy the Vampire Slayer for demons and monsters and stuff. Like, we're not limited in the same way, but we seem to be doing that for some reason. We're like limiting the worlds and what happens, and it's kind of gone from kind of a story-driven stuff to character-driven. I think we've gone too far to one side, and I think that the comics people kind of saw that, and they weren't getting what they wanted out of the books. And some of them, not all of them, some of them lashed out. And unfortunately, those people who lashed out kind of soured. Okay, would you two stop it? They kind of soured it for everybody. So everybody just assumes, that the whole thing is that the whole kind of guilt by association. So these people are bad. Anybody who associates are bad. And I talked to some people who are in it or were in it. Now they aren't in it. They're kind of like, because it's going to be like a personal choice about what you want. I just wish that I think that the comics they would have been more successful in the mainstream if they had those people, that small group had that task initially. I think but I mean, there's always going to be some pushback from the creators. I mean, Perch did a video on this one. Shout out to Perch. Did a video on the creators, like, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, which I think is kind of weird. I mean, I have my rule is I won't if you do a review and you tag me in it and you really like the art but you hated the creator, the writing, and you kind of trash the writing, I won't retweet it.
Right.
But if you do a review and you love the writing and you hate the art, I'll retweet that. I don't want to bash the people that I work with. He's going to bash me and well, whatever. And, I've heard it all before.
Right.
But I mean, as I said, I think that they have some valid points. So I do get labeled Confiscate every now and then, which is kind of funny.
That is kind of funny.
And then I'll get labeled on the other side. I feel like Perch. I'm in the middle of stuff. It's like I do get what you're saying. So someone was someone from Comics actually yelled at me last year when everything stopped. I was like, hey, all these books you can't do the printing because Diamond's closed. What if we do some digital stuff now? And they're like, oh, you need to learn how to hustle, and you need this, and we don't want that. And it's like, well, if you can't get books at all, wouldn't this be some is better than none?
Right. Yeah.
That was my whole thing. I was like, and I think, and I still think, digital is at least for some people, and for myself, I don't want to have all this stuff in here. I'm going to have enough crap and clutter of paper with all the damn storylines and stuff that I have. I'm got a stack of 12 inches tall of boards and stuff that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
Of papers and stuff like that. It's just it's I don't want all this. It just kind of more stuff that gets in the way. So I like the digital. I just wish it was a better reader. That's my big problem with that. The reader sucks.
Yeah.
The Shonen Jump one is awesome. The Comixology one, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that. So that's why I think. And it's kind of funny because I think things kind of die down, and then someone else will say something, and it kind of just turns into a shit show again. And it's just like, oh God, it's like I understand what you're saying, and then it goes into the other side, and they're like, they said this. Well, they don't all think that. And so you're kind of lumping everybody. And it's like the people who attack me for saying that extremists are bad. It's like, you're all being extremists, cut it out.
Right. That's kind of like what you said before. I mean,
we need. I wish that there was some sort of bridge between the two, because I do think crowdfunding has a good place. The comics games have totally managed to freaking at least some of them made a nice corner for themselves. I just wish that there wasn't so much nastiness between the two sides. I don't know if that's going to actually be able to heal that gulf.
Yeah, I mean, who knows on that? I know that everybody in the chat they're saying they support you. Dojo Kun Comics here says your participation tonight has been awesome. Looking forward to your campaigns in the indie area arena.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and Crazy Mad said that a lot has changed over the years in Comicsgate, which was true. But a lot of people definitely excited to see you venture into the indie world regardless. And it looks like, definitely looking forward to seeing the Lost Serpent prints come out and Parsec and everything you got going on. So it was a pleasure talking to you tonight, man. It's been fun every single time we've had you on. It's been good conversation.
Yeah, well, I try to. I like to look at. I don't know. Maybe I train myself to kind of look at things, kind of pull back a little bit and see what's going on. But I don't follow a lot of the stuff, and I know that there's a lot of stuff going on in the outskirts. As I said, I muted a lot of people because I just got tired of all the politics.
Yeah.
I was like, I have my own politics, but I don't think health stuff is is a thing. I mean, just please, if you're going to go looking for statistics and stuff, check multiple sources. Because
absolutely.
Some crazy, like, 95 of this, and I'm like, oh no, it's actually 63. And it's like, this is from someone on your own side who's this. I follow people on both sides, and they're on your own side. Their numbers disagree with your numbers. So what's the actual fact? Where do I need to look for the truth? Because there's like so much nonsense, and I totally get why there's so much stuff. There's like a new thing. We're not used to this. We've never seen this before. These our generations.
Yeah.
Our generations. Boomers didn't really have this. They kind of got maybe a few of the really older ones got it, but we don't. We haven't. We've been pretty lucky so far. So we're kind of freaking out. Information spreads. Then of course we have the internet, so it spreads. And misinformation spreads probably faster than regular information.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I like to pull back and kind of see, and I do have my own prejudices. And my wife will usually try to check me on. So
I mean, we all do.
Something. She's even more analytical than me sometimes. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and that's absolutely, we all do that. And I think real quick before I end the stream, a crazy mad said, "I'll be backing whatever you do on Indiegogo." Animal Mother said, "Brett seems like a really good dude." And there's just more and more people enjoyed coming on or having you come on and talking.
Oh, thank you. I know I enjoy doing these. I don't get to do them very often. So I did one on Monday a little bit too. So it's kind of come in waves, but I can kind of see the appeal of the long streams.
Yeah, it's fun.
You kind of shoot shit.
Yeah,
but, you still have to kind of and I'm sure someone will jump on me for you talk to this person. Like, yeah, I don't fucking care anymore. I'm tired of trying to figure everything out, and I think I just wanted to talk about comic books.
Exactly.
Stuff I'm interested in. I mean, talk about dinosaurs. We'll talk about dinosaurs.
Yep, that's just the attitude you have to have.
I like talking, like talking about and learning about religion. I think that just seeing how it kind of moves through the world and how people react to it is just fascinating. Sorry, little Jeff Goldblum there.
Dojo Cocoon Comics said we'd love to have him on the co-host show. It's just an hour long, Brett.
That's why I did an hour and a half on Monday. So.
Yeah. All right,
guys. I can only do phone calls, guys. I can only do phone calls.
I was just gonna say.
Work out well. We had started off kind of a little rocky. And it was good for a while, and then kind of died again. But some days it'll work really good, and then some days it's just absolutely terrible.
Well, it's cool either way that you still get to get out every once in a while to get on these things because you got a really good following. I know people are definitely anxious. If you ever do get in an area where you could do streams and people would love to watch you draw, like all that kind of stuff would be amazing.
I got to clean out my table. I got to get a little bit of time to clean up the table. My wife gave me a thing to see if we could try to just do like a short video.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But I gotta. The other problem is I make sure I do it on certain things because I can't give away story stuff. So
true.
Most of the stuff in issue 4 of Gunslinger is spoilers on all the freaking pages, so I can't show any of it. So it's like, I don't want to ruin this, I don't want to ruin that, and it's just like, what can I show? So I have to do either a commission or a Patreon piece.
Yeah. I mean, I would watch it.
But I'm a computer guy, so it's like it's gonna be a big learning curve on that stuff because I barely know how to use the phone, the camera on the phone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what about this? What about that? And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I just pressed the button.
All right, guys. I'm going to end the stream. Brett, stick around for a second as I do this, but I want to just give a shout out to everybody for coming on here tonight. Great questions. Thank you for participating. And I think, this was great fun. And I will definitely do it again. Now that I know you're definitely still willing to come on, which was awesome. And I could say, I think we can all agree that what we do here in Indie Comics is we respect the fan. You're the readers. You help support us. And also fan service. Brett talked about it earlier, and that's the kind of stuff I love hearing from artists and creators. is knowing that the fans are important to us. So very fun stream. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we get out of here, I mean, I do this for everybody. If you want to tell us where we can follow you on social media, projects we should look into, and all that good stuff.
Well, it's a Demon Puppy. It's at Demon Puppy on Twitter. And I'm on Instagram, but I can never remember what it is. Like food artist, something I don't know. I am on Instagram, but I never check that. So if you need to get in contact with me, I'm always on. I'm almost on Twitter. If you don't hear from me for a while, I'm either driving and shopping or working. But I usually take breaks and look at my Twitter feed. So I do that, or I try to listen to some podcast or something if I get good enough signal. We'll listen to Perch, obviously. I just listen to Westland Thinking Critical. It's the two comic book things that I kind of listen to the most. But yeah, Twitter is where to reach me. You can ask me questions. If I don't answer, because sometimes I get like I have this one guy who sends me art stuff to look at.
Yeah.
And he usually does it like right when I'm going to bed. Or I'm literally in bed and it shows up. And it's like, I'm not getting up to go fix that, to show him how to fix it. I'll try to remember in the morning. And then I don't always remember. So it's like, just, send me another email. If I don't see it, I'll get a response. Just, hit me up again, and then I'll try to respond the second time.
Yeah, you're great at responding on Twitter, and I've got all the links, guys. If you look in the description on the YouTube channel, I've got all the links that you can follow Brett on Twitter, Patreon. So definitely do that. Dojo Kun Comics says, "Hail the chat, hail Brett Booth, hail Joe M. Sonntag." Crazy Mad asked if we did the comics that made us, which was a segment we do here where we talk about a comic that had an impact on us when we were younger. I was trying to get you off. So if you wanted to, if you had an idea and you want to share it, we could do that. Otherwise, I'll end the stream. It's up to you.
Well, what do you mean by influenced you? Like the one that got you into comics, or something that you saw that influenced you?
It could be either or. So the way I present it,
the neighbor guy I didn't read any comics when I was younger, and the neighbor guy gave my mom a bunch of stuff. And I remember there being like one of those giant Batmans. It's like 11x17 comics, and it has 60 pages, multiple stories, and then it had a Batman one and a Fantastic Four one. And the Fantastic Four one had Jack Kirby stuff in it, where the Ben Grimm turns into a normal guy.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
A guy steals his powers. Ben Grimm turns into a normal guy. He goes, I cannot remember the damn woman, Alice, Alicia. He goes to Alicia to propose, and then as he's about to knock on the door, something happens to the other guy, dies, and the powers revert back to him. And as he's about to knock on the door, he turns back into the thing. This man, this monster.
Yep.
I remember that, and then I remember a friend of mine actually got me into comics. This was a year or two before I actually got into comics. He was always into it, and he was in some class. And he had Alpha Flight, the Guardian, and there's a splash page John Byrne draws, and he's getting a torso shot up to the head, and he's basically touching his chest, oh man, look at this cool costume. And I think it was issue 23 or 24. When he comes back, so it's not a real Guardian, it's a fake Guardian. And I was just man, that was really cool, and I wanted to draw that, and I couldn't do it. And I just kind of oh, well, I stopped. And then a couple of years later, I'm in study hall, and I don't have anything to do. And a friend of mine, same guy, he's got comics, always had comics, and he's like, hey, well, here you go. And I was looking through his stuff, and I saw the classic X-Men #1 cover by Art Adams. And man, this is cool.
Oh, nice.
This Wolverine guy is really nice, really cool. And so I started. They don't have anything to do. For something, I had two study halls. I had one in second period and then one in fifth period. And I think after that, I had an art class. So I didn't have hardly any. I didn't really need the second study hall. And it was because it was during the lunch hour, it was twice as long. So it's an hour and a half. So I had nothing to do. So I started drawing this cover, and I really got enamored with Wolverine. And I bought some of the books, and I wound up not liking Wolverine that much. But I liked the X-Men, and I kind of got into the story with Cyclops and Jean. And he had X Factor stuff that he would bring in, and he showed me that, and I just kind of like, because we had just moved, and he had lived maybe 2 streets over. So we started going to the store to pick up comics together, and we'd walk up to the mall and pick up comics at the Walden Books because we didn't have a comic book store there anymore. So they had one apparently like 2 years before, which is why he had all these damn comic books. And I think that just kind of, so the X-Men were like my first love, like that got me into comics. But I always liked the Alpha Flight stuff because I still remember that stuff from 7th grade with the Guardian, and then he's like, oh, he's in the X-Men, oh, he's tied to Wolverine. And then John Byrne, who was going through all these cool X-Men stuff. Because one of the first books I got to see was the Phoenix, the Untold Story, which is basically the original story where Jean Grey didn't get killed.
Oh, wow.
And she survived at the very end, but she had like her powers and mind kind of a bit of race, but she didn't have any abilities anymore. It completely took away her ability to be immune. That was the end of the story, but she and Cyclops were going to get married or just have a relationship with them. And I thought that was just really cool. It was like John Byrne art. It was on blue white. It was on the nicer paper. And it was like,
yeah.
It looks real slick, and I was like, oh man, this is just really cool. And it just kind of got me, And Mark Silvestri, when I started picking up the X-Men book, Mark Silvestri just started his run on the X-Men. I literally had like his first issue on the X-Men. And I fell in love with what he was doing with that, and it was like it's like a great time to be a fan, to get into the medium. I mean, I got into with the store. I was like, oh, like the Flash. I picked up the Flash #3 was my first Flash book with the Kilgore, whatever the hell's name is, with the weird number symbols and stuff on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is just really cool. Like Mike Byrne's story. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is just awesome stuff. And I just kind of, fell in love with certain characters, and I wanted to see how they went. But I also fell in love with art style, and so the art became really important to me. Probably because of X-Men Annual 10. That's probably what did me in art-wise. We were at a flea market, and we're going through books, and I was like, oh man, there's an X-Men Annual 10. And Art Adams cover. I love Art Adams. I was at like $1.50 or whatever it is. So I thought, I'll pick it up. And I took it home, and I took it out of the package, and I was like, oh shit, he drew all of it. I didn't know he actually drew the insides. Because I had seen, Long Shot. My friend had Long Shot, so I had seen some of those, but I thought he had stopped doing that. I guess he does only because occasionally. But it was like so cool to see, and it was just like, man, this art style is just like, it's exactly what. It's what I just visually like hit me.
Yeah, it's an awesome looking cover.
That got me, into comics, and then, I started, something, and I know there's a new Dragon Ball Super. I watched Dragon Ball Super and Z, or Dragon Ball Z, and I watched Dragon Ball when it came out. So I've seen most of that stuff, and I was a fan of all that stuff, but I kind of like the whole freaking thing with the Majin Buu arc. I kind of lost interest about halfway through that. But I think, there's the new Super on, and I was like, I think there was that's what it was. Because Cartoon Network will occasionally run like marathons.
Yeah.
And they ran a marathon of Dragon Ball Super, and I watched a few episodes. And I was like, oh well, if they have that at the store, I'll pick it up. And they did, because manga was really big. One store that by me here at the time, Walmart had a whole section of manga, and this one store still has some, but not a lot. But they had like a ton of stuff, and so I just kind of picked up a bunch of the supers, and I just kind of got hooked in that, and that kind of got me really pumped again. And then a bunch of people recommended Bleach. The anime I picked, and it was completely not what I was expecting when I picked it up, or bought the first 12 episodes, and I went and looked at some stuff online, but I really liked it, and I looked at stuff online, and the art styles changed a lot in this, and then what I really like what he's doing is cool. There's a little bit of like the old Japanese stuff that they do with the brushes. Colleen Durant actually did a really good job with that. She can actually pull that stuff off really well. But there's still kind of simple lines that they don't get the same. But the way he was kind of doing it, I was like, oh man, but it's detailed. So that kind of got me into looking into more of the anime and manga. So, like Chainsaw Man. I haven't read the manga. I think I have one of the mangas here. And One Punch Man, everybody was talking about when they finally released that first series on Blu-ray. I picked it up and I freaking loved it. And then Cartoon Network ran My Hero Academia again. As a marathon. So I watched a couple episodes. I was like, yeah. So for me to get into certain things, I kind of need like the initial, like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I need immediately to have some stuff to follow it up. to kind of get into stuff. So that was with comics. My Hero Academia, I started at 11 o'clock. And I think I stayed up till 1 watching a bunch of these episodes and just kind of really getting into it. And I was just but that kind of rekindled recently, the That's a Hero's Journey.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's for all these characters. But I think that kind of rekindled, I like the idea that, I think we haven't had anything since Image that's kind of brought new life and characters. I know that, big in a while. It hasn't hit the U.S. We're still stuck with Batman and Superman from 80 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Or the X-Men. Now, I love these characters. Don't get me wrong. But we haven't had Wildcats or Spawn.
Yeah.
Even that's 30 years old now.
True.
So with My Hero Academia was oh man, this is just really kind of cool. And I think you see pictures of All Might, and you're like, man, that hair's so ridiculous. But it fucking works. It works so well in the comic book and on in the anime. It just works for his character, and it's just I want to do stuff like that, So I'm doing stuff and that's the business I'm in.
Yeah. But
I think every now and then you kind of need to be rekindled with with what you love, and so the Dragon Ball Super. And I think anime, because I can't have a ton of time to read. I'll just I'll buy it. Anime. What do you got? Oh, here's this. I'll check that one out. I got Netflix recently, and there's a certain spot in my room that I can watch Netflix or Amazon Prime on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I have to go to bed, so
you got to sleep at some point.
While I'm outside, so it's got a thing from Perch. So my wife got me Funimation. I keep forgetting to put the damn app on my phone. I'm trying to remember to do that again because there's a ton of stuff I wanted to check out because I wanted to see the Demon Slayer the movie because I think that's on. But I've been watching just whatever comes through. So I started watching a little bit of Fullmetal Alchemist. I was yeah. I know you have to give all these things kind of 3 or 4 episodes to kind of get hooked on some of this stuff. So
yeah, it's usually
the Blue Exorcist I started watching, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I think I've heard of that one. I'll have to look at.
Yeah. It's actually the animation that's pretty nice on that too. The animation's got to be pretty good. But I'll watch crap too. I'll watch stuff that has not older stuff too. I mean, someone recommended Yu Yu Hakusho. And so I picked up the first 24 episodes, something like that. And it didn't get me hooked. But I like Hunter x Hunter a lot. I'm on season 4 of that. And then I watched Amazon Prime had Evangelion movies. It's oh sweet, I'll check those out. And I comment on sort of what the hell's going on? None of this makes any sense. And because the kids, they watch 2 of the movies, and no, it doesn't get better. You don't really figure out what the hell's going on. And some people are oh, you need to watch the series. So I was okay, so we got Netflix, and the series is on Netflix. And I watched that, and that does explain more, but it's at the end, you're still what the fuck? It's you're cheering me. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But I like the animation, and I like it. I just picked up the Blu-ray the other day, so I can watch it again. I was I do like it. I did like it. So it's one of those weird things, you know. I mean, what do I pick up and watch? And what's the first one? I got what is it? Vampire Knight, KNITE or KNIGH2. The night, you know, the guy with the swords. And it's it's definitely not for me. Even though I got it because I was vampires. I freaking love vampires. It's all about angst, at a school and vampires at a school and with the regular kids, and it's interesting, and some of the animation's really good, and some of it's not so great. But I'll watch and read stuff that isn't super great, but a lot of times there's there's kernels of things you can pull from. It rekindles anything that someone asked me the other day. I'm becoming a artist and asking about imposter syndrome, which I still get. It's not like I don't feel welcome. I still feel like an outsider.
In the chat, Mr. Von Stugel says Trigon is a must, and Animal Mother 80 said, I'm slowly embracing My Hero Academia. Reminds me of what X-Men used to be in instances.
Yeah, it's very much like that. Yeah, I had to pick up Trigon. That's on my list of things to pick up. I mean, I watched Outlaw Star, which is okay. It's kind of funny because the first couple episodes of Outlaw Star were really freaking good, and the animation is awesome. And then the story kind of goes meanders around for a while. And then the animation level kind of dropped. So I was like, I did watch it. I did enjoy it. It's not perfect. I just want to get some more Gundam stuff, but the Gundam stuff is expensive. My wife is a huge Gundam fan. So.
I just wish I had more time to watch TV. My daughter dominates all my time.
Watch it on the TV while I'm working. So I got Gundam Build Fighters. I finished watching this. I watched it already once. I was watching it again. Picked up some other stuff to watch. Superman and Lois. So I really, really enjoyed that. But it's half of it's trying to sell me Gunpla.
Yeah.
It's I have a model in the other room that I bought, and it's just sitting there. I don't have time to work on this, and so a metal build came out. I'll just buy the fucking metal build. They're expensive, but they're so cool. They're just so cool. You can't go wrong with the Gundam. That design is awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to check out more of these things. It's just hard because my daughter dominates the TV 24/7. She's a little under 3 years old, so I just let her watch stuff.
That's how she was older. I mean, I cannot believe how many times that I've seen Mannequin.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, which is fine because I freaking love.
I was just gonna say that wouldn't be bad. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Hell yeah.
Those are fun. Well, even Mannequin. I mean, I liked Mannequin. I thought it was funny. Hollywood's freaking awesome. And I forgot he was in it, and then I watched it 5 years ago. Mannequin's on. I'm gonna watch that. Oh fuck! I forgot he was in this. Oh, they probably never could get away with this right now, but it's so good. The anime is just to me, it's the new that and the manga stuff what I can get.
Yeah.
Target has some of it, but it's I don't know where to. I bought the Super that I really liked, and I wanted to get the next one, but I don't know what the volume is. And then I was like, oh, I have the Shonen Jump app. I can just go check it out. Just go check it up online if I can't find it at the store. But because I know that the paper thing is even affecting the manga stuff. So.
Yeah, well, thank God for streaming because they got so much out there that they put on there, which is cool. And when you're looking for that kind of stuff.
I mean the Bleach stuff was I was so people got me into the Bleach stuff, and I'm picking up the Blu-rays as they come out. And I'm on the 13th, whatever, episode 300 and somewhere around there.
Wow.
I watched it twice. I just go to I've watched the first part of Bleach, the first season. I've watched it at least 3 or 4 times. The animation changes the style, but the animation, but the style of the characters, and they try to match it with the anime, which I thought was really cool. But when they put the new manga that they put out, a couple months, a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I just it was so good, and I was like, oh man, it gives away the ending. But it's so cool to see. I'm cool. I kind of knew what was going to happen anyways because I watched a couple videos about power levels and stuff like that. So I kind of know how it all went. But it was, I'm so happy that I can kind of still get excited about stuff like that, and I just wish that the American comics could could do that. I don't know why. What is it that's not that I can't get in the U.S. that I used to be able to get? Because there's still some great and fantastic artists. It's just to be like the stories aren't appealing to me.
You're right on. You are right on there.
And it's not saying that they're bad or anything. That doesn't mean they're bad. It's just like they're not what I want out of this.
Yeah.
I want it might just be like a dude thing. I got stuck in the specific kind of hero's journey story. I love people complain about the one of the things I don't like about Bleach and Dragon Ball is the power levels because they keep going up.
Right.
And you have this problem. You have this in regular comics and stuff like that. And you'll have the hero fights the villain, and they do it on regular television shows. Like with Transformers Prime. In the first episode, you get introduced to Arsene Bumblebee, and they fight some Decepticon, and they're not like they have a specific Viacon. They have personalities, but they're not like fully realized beings. But Bumblebee and Garcia have a hard time fighting these two, like one-on-one. They have a hard time beating these two Decepticon guys. And then later on in the series, they're just like walking through them without any problem. They're nothing to them in a fight. So that's the whole power of the reason why they have a problem with these characters. But they at least like on Super, they at least make fun of it a little bit, where Frieza's coming back to Earth to destroy everything. The bad guys, and they have Goku and Vegeta are there. And they've got Krillin, who's powered up a lot, and Gohan, and then what about Yamcha? We didn't talk. He get his ass kicked essentially, so we didn't bother talking about. We didn't bother to bring Yamcha because he's just not going to win. And he's and it was all cut to poor Yamcha. They're going to call me soon. They're going to call me soon, right? And so I do find that they at least make fun of that, a little bit. They play with it a bit. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was the reason why manga is kicking Western comics butt right now, and the fact that why independent comics, like you said, are going to start giving the readers the comics that they want, and just what you've explained with what you're doing.
That's I hope that's I'm trying to just do comics that I think what would I like. But this is what do those fans want? Well, they seem to want more action, more kind of classic-y superhero stuff. The 90s are kind of popular right now, so I was like, as I said, I picked up comics in the 80s, so I'm familiar with how they did that, and I drew comics in the 90s, so I can do that without any problem.
Well, I think it's a formula.
I've improved enough that it looks a little cooler than it.
Yeah, it's going to look great, and I think it's a formula a lot of people are looking for. So I think a lot of people are excited, definitely to see it.
People think, okay, that's awesome, and just want I want to be able to just do the stuff that I think is cool. I mean, I got to the point where I've drawn a lot of stuff. I still want to do some more stuff. Always to kind of be, to work with. I'm just worried, with the X-Men, that they're like characters that I just don't like.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And the character that I put, because I just have to draw a bunch of guys, a bunch of characters that you're just not that interested in.
Yeah, it's no fun. Yeah.
So we have this character that you've never heard of. Adam X was okay to draw and everything. Because that doesn't happen. And I get to draw Professor X again, and then I get to draw, Corsair, Imperial Guard. And so it's like, oh man, I get to draw a bunch of the Starjammers. I get to draw just a bunch of stuff that I loved as kids. So I was like, okay, well, this is cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
It doesn't really matter that Adam. I don't know Adam X just because he was in afterwards. After I stopped reading the books.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really know who the
like
character was.
It's kind of between when I stopped reading and then when I started actually drew the X-Men. Weird kind of like 5-year period.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
all right, man. I've held you for almost 3 hours. I heard your phone was breaking up just a little bit. I'm gonna.
Okay.
We're gonna. Yeah. So stick around for a second. I'm gonna end the stream, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out. Again, shout out to Sean. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family. He should be back next week. And yeah. So all right, guys. Thanks so much. Until next week, as always, be good to each other. And as always, picture me naked. I'll talk to you later. Peace.